Into the masses and ready to rock. Good morning, everybody. This is the Nathan Ivey Show. And listen, you can join the conversation at 513-873-7134. But if that doesn't suit your lifestyle, what you have going on right now, perhaps you are making that transition from home to work, dropping off the kids, the whole 9 yards, I understand. You can always take a free ride on my thoughts. It's all good. Good morning to the choppers. Viva la choppers. Good morning to the early risers. Good morning. All right, let me give you a heads up on what we'll be talking about today. At 8:30 a.m. approximately, that's at the bottom of the hour. That's at 8:30 a.m. approximately. In about 27 minutes, I am scheduled to be joined by a current member of the Cincinnati School Board, and he's running for re-election. Maybe you heard about the Write-In Ozie Davis campaign online. And we'll catch up with Ozie Davis, who is very well known in Cincinnati, in Black Cincinnati. People know him. He's a leader in the Avondale area and a current member of the school board. So we'll talk about, what's been his observation. We'll talk about why is he doing a write-in campaign. We'll talk about what you want to talk about. And, of course, you can join the conversation at 513-873-7134. Just remember, open your mind before you open your mouth. That's it. The wise words of Boutros Boutros. Good morning to you. And you can also interact by joining the Chop Shop. Now, there's some sharks in there. Very intelligent people. Very intelligent people in there. There may be some growing pains, but you are always welcome. Consider this an invitation. If you like to text and chop it up in that fashion, you might find that a great spot. Good morning to you. It's a beautiful. Yesterday was just magical in the city of Cincinnati. It was beautiful weather. I loved it. I'm expecting more today and throughout the week. Tuesday, October 29th, 2019. It's great to be alive. Great to be with you. Want to give you a heads up, man. I came across some information. Looks like the Russians are at it again. We knew it. The Russians targeted black voters in 2016. And they're back to do it again in 2020. I'll tell you how. They're using Facebook and social media, using Instagram. I'll tell you how, so you can keep your eyes open so you don't get caught up with the fake news. The fake news is coming back. I'm just telling you right now, fake news will be back in full effect. It's already started. We'll discuss this morning, 513-873-7134. We got a lot of things to talk about. Some super serious, some maybe less serious, some maybe less serious. Here locally, landlords are not too happy with the eviction comprehensive plan that was proposed by a member of City Council named Greg Landsman. Not too happy with him because there's like a $100 pilot program in which the city wants to make sure that these rental units are suitable to be rented out to humans. And they're complaining about it. If you're someone who owns multiple properties and you're inside of this geographical area, because it doesn't, this program initially is not in every area in Cincinnati. It's not in every neighborhood. I'll tell you which neighborhoods they're going to be targeting. You might live in one of those neighborhoods. And they're saying they're upset because of this $100 fee. Now, if you just got one or two properties, $200, you're still going to complain about it because it's a new fee. But what if you got 100 units? What if you got 200 units? What if all of your units are inside of this area? It was estimated that at least one landlord might be into the 5 figures, if not 6 figures, just on a pilot program. So there's some people very upset about that. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? I mean, I need to we'll dig deeper into the details of what that actually means. And I've got some audio for you, but I want to get your thoughts on what that means. Like, we all say that something needs to change here. We got to balance the scales somehow. Why not off the backs of the landlords? Wait a minute. What if you're a landlord? What if this is what your business is? Now the city's coming in saying you got to spend more money to do what you've been doing for years just because on a program that you don't even know is going to work? So as you can tell, there are different sides to that. Man, some of the memes I saw are just hilarious. Y'all are, man, listen, I love the world we live in. Hey, Pat, I did see that article with Tay Diggs, but that's an old article. That was back in that was last year sometime. This meme that Daryl posted a few days ago was hilarious. Hilarious. Do you think that gun violence is linked to adverse childhood experiences? So is gun violence linked to childhood trauma? I put that out a couple days ago. I wanted to see what people thought about it because, I mean, for me, yeah, I could see that. But I'm telling you, and I'm glad to see there's a lot of people who agree that there's possibly a connection between childhood trauma and gun violence. Because folks ain't always thought that way. You know what I'm saying? For years and years and years, we was having this debate about whether it was nature or nurture and all this kind of ish. Glad to see the world's catching up with us. I'm glad to see it. Also, the Cincinnati Police Department is looking for new recruits for their 2020 Academy class. And personally, I think we need better officers. We need black people. We need people with common sense and good hearts who are not looking to kill someone to become officers of the law, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, we need more of that, not less. And they've changed it now. I mean, you can become an officer later in life. You can be in your 40s. Let's say you want to jump into a second career. You can go to the CPD. They got great benefits. Who knows? You might make a career in law enforcement. There's worse things you can do with your time. But don't go on the force if you're going to punk out and be a patsy for the man. If you're going to go on the force and just punk out and, betray your own people, yeah. I don't know if this is a requirement, but Cincinnati police, in my opinion, should be required to live in Cincinnati. To me, that's a very important requirement because when you live in the same area that you patrol, and you're going to do it with a different spirit. If you're driving in from the suburbs, you don't give a damn about what happens because you're going to leave and go back to your little, perfect place on the planet and go back to your life. But we need more officers. Ray writes, better is subjective when the rules and regulations remain the same. The FOP needs a total overhaul with mature, competent, engaging, mindful, receptive, and welcoming people. I'm going to go ahead and like that. I feel you. I feel you on that. Good morning good morning, Brenda. Appreciate the like. Please take a moment to share this show with your friends if you're inclined to do so. Tank says, that whole Tank thing we talked about last week, it got cleaned up. It was actually, he didn't even really wasn't even talking about that at all. So we have to take Tank off of, what was he, Gilligan of the Week? We might have been too quick on it, but hey, sometimes things happen. I'm just giving you a rundown of local news. headlines that we'll discuss at some point today. And we'll get into it. And again, at 8:30 a.m. this morning, we're scheduled to speak with Ozie Davis. Now, yesterday, we got a chance to speak with Judge Elisa Murphy. What did you think? Did you go back and listen? Did it sit with you? Or did you just totally forget? What did you think about her? What do you think about her, should I say? It's a better question. What do you think? What in the hell? That is hilarious. Thank you, Deshauna. Appreciate it. Thank you for the like this morning on Facebook. Yeah, coming up at 8:30 a.m., we'll talk with Ozie Davis. So if you got any Ozie Davis questions, school board questions, line them up. Line them up. I'd love to hear it. Shout out to Ask Ashley. Appreciate that, Akeem. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Great to see you. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Tracy writes, hi. Good morning to you, Tracy. How you doing? How's that situation going on with that sucker? Renee writes, good morning, everyone. Hey, good to see you, Renee. CJ writes, morning, all. Brian writes, morning. Ray writes, grand risings, all. Cam writes, good morning, peace, Nathan in the Chop Shop. Brenda writes, happy Tuesday. Ray writes, went to the candidates, judges, and school board members forum last night. Interesting. Yeah, I was not there. Someone sent me a message saying that there was a certain candidate that was not there and that people wanted to talk to her. I'm talking about Judge Elisa Murphy. There was somebody who said, hey, she wasn't here last night. I don't know her schedule. I can't speak for anybody. But when you have forums like that and you don't go, then people are going to start filling in the blanks and making assumptions. And well, not even assumptions, but drawing conclusions, which may or may not be fair. It is what it is. Mason Muller writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Hashtag Ukraine in the membrane. Hashtag public hearings. Yeah, Trump's got problems, but now he's darn near a war hero. So I guess this makes up for Trump basically not going to war when he was an able-bodied young man because he had bone spurs. Yeah, he got deferred because he had bone spurs. So now he can make up for it by sitting in the luxury of his home or the White House and watching some video feed from 2,000 miles away on the other side of the globe from Syria. That makes him feel like he's gone to war now, right? Oh, man. I mean, what a disgusting, pathetic display of so-called leadership that we saw from Trump himself after they got al-Baghdadi. I mean, come on, man. 3 children were killed there. The other thing is Trump said something, and this is something that I think goes back and it trickles down. It's a part of our mentality. And on some level, it leads to why we see so many shootings. Because we have this mentality in this country that killing you is justice. Trump said, oh, yeah, we brought him to justice. Well, I thought justice was the legal process, not you finding somebody that you say was a bad guy. I don't know his record. I don't have any evidence about al-Baghdadi. I've got to rely on the government that's lied to me, lied about my folks. I'm supposed to rely on them. So that's why I choose my words very carefully. This was being reported. I don't know what al-Baghdadi did. All I know is this. They calling him evil, but there were people who knew about 911 and made money off of it. And that's where this whole thing with ISIS, that without 911, you can say there would be no ISIS. So who's more evil? Again, I challenge the power structure and conventional wisdom on some of this stuff. Some of this stuff just don't make no sense to me. It might make sense to you, but it doesn't make sense to me. Hold on, we got a caller calling in here. Al-Baghdadi, he was such a bad guy. What about these people that make money off 911? They sitting back here making money off the destruction, knowing thousands of folks are going to die. But al-Baghdadi is a bad guy. Trump's up there talking about, oh, we got him. He brought him to justice. I'll say, I thought justice was the legal process, not you find him and he blows himself up. How is that? What the hell? But it's the same thing that happens on our streets. Some people have the mentality that if you committed any crime, you stole some bubble gum, it doesn't matter what it is, that whatever happens to you, including losing your life, is what happens to you. And they sit back and rationalize and sit back on their hands and say nothing when these officers are abusing people in the name of the law and justice. We need to have another conversation about that, but let me go to the phones here. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. This is Janaea Trotter Bratton. How are you today?
Hey, what's up, Janaea? What's going on?
Hi. I was calling because yesterday I understand that my opponent was on the radio and spread a lot of lies and mistruths. And yesterday was a forum by the Coalition for a Just Cincinnati, which is the group that has supported Judge Hunter for several years. Judge Hunter was present, and my opponent did not show up. Many people, including myself, were waiting for her to show up so that everything that she said on your show yesterday could be said in front of me and could be said in front of Judge Hunter, and the record could be set straight. And I showed up amid all of her allegations, and she did not. So like you, I don't know what her schedule was, but I do know that every single candidate that has shown up to African American forums was present except for her. And I have allowed, I've run my race, but what I will not allow someone to do is slander my good name and just flat out lie, which is what she did. And so I would just like for your listeners to, again, examine for themselves someone who had the opportunity to make those very serious allegations in front of Judge Hunter and did not show up. And so that's really it. And the last thing I will say is the Democratic Party did not turn her down in 2013. I'm not sure what her timeline is, but you cannot be on the bench for 16 years and then have come to the Democratic Party in 2013. So that's kind of it.
Well, Janaea, she's got an ad. Can you hear me? She's got a campaign ad that seems to be talking about you. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's not true. And it was addressed last night. And when Judge Hunter found out about it, she was very surprised. She had not heard it yet. And, I can't speak for her, but she seemed to be taken aback that the very unfortunate situation that happened to her and the miscarriage of justice was being used to benefit somebody who was in the same court as her and never stood up and said anything to her Republican colleagues. So, I don't think you should politicize people's misfortune, but it's not true. It is absolutely not true. It's true that I testified as a defense witness. I was called by Clyde Bennett on behalf of the defense. And that was cleared up yesterday because some people thought that I was a prosecution witness, and I absolutely was not. I was called as a defense witness by Mr. Bennett. And everything that I said, I had, you prep witnesses, and I had spoken the night before with defense counsel. So no, it is not true. And Judge Hunter was there, and if she felt like I put her in jail, I'm sure would have said something. Judge Hunter is not a meek woman. If she has something to say, she'll say it. And nothing like that was said yesterday. But my opponent wasn't there to make those allegations in front of the woman who she is trying to politicize. And it's ridiculous and it's cowardly, period.
Well, Janaea, thank you for calling in and clarifying that. I appreciate it because we want to make sure we know what's going on. And,
what's going on is you have a judicial candidate that is not showing integrity, trying to mislead the public because they are desperate. And there should never be a time when you are so desperate that you will mislead an electorate that is seeking to understand who is the best person to decide what goes on in people's lives. And that you should examine.
All right, Janaea, I appreciate
thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, most take it easy. That's Janaea Trotter. Man, this thing is heating up. This is serious. There's a lot at stake. Both parties want that seat. It's very important. Fanon held it down for a long time. So we'll have to make that decision. She said it's not true. Yeah. I don't know what Elisa Murphy's schedule was last night, but I think it's completely fair to ask her. Especially in the context of having made those comments about Janaea and, Tracy Hunter, because that's what a lot of people want to know. You know, it's like, okay, so where were you? And again, that question kept coming up yesterday from the audience. Where were you when Tracy Hunter was going through this? So I don't know. Let's take our first break. At the bottom of the hour, we're scheduled to be joined by a current member of the Cincinnati School Board, Ozie Davis, brother from the community. We'll catch up with him. This is the Nathan Ivey Show. I'm live, I'm local, and I'm vocal, and we'll be right back.
I'm Mark Mills. Russia is again messing with the U.S. election, targeting African Americans with disinformation about the campaign. Facebook announced the malicious activity last week, saying that its Instagram app had been used by Russians to stoke African American resentment of former Vice President Joe Biden, while tapping into themes designed to undercut Senators Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. Grammy-winning gospel artist Kirk Franklin says he's boycotting the Gospel Music Association's Dove Awards after they edited out part of his acceptance speech earlier this month, in which he called for prayers after a police shooting in his hometown of Fort Worth, Texas. WWE World Wrestling Entertainment is drawing fire for putting out a new T-shirt for wrestler Jordan Miles, critics say is reminiscent of blackface. It's a logo of Miles' name fashioned into red lips and white teeth. Miles tagged WWE Chief Vince McMahon, calling the T-shirt a slap in the face to every African-American performer, fan, and supporter. WWE says Miles approved the shirt design. And that's your Bloomberg Urban Report. I'm Mark Mills.
This is retired Judge Fanon Rucker. I served District 1 for 12 years, retiring from the bench this September. And when it comes to replacing me on the court, to me, there's one clear choice: Janaea Trotter Bratton. Janaea was born and raised in Cincinnati, started her legal career in the municipal court, and has worked for years as a civil rights lawyer. She's a leader in our community, recognized by the NAACP and by the YWCA as a rising star. As a judge, I know Janaea will make our justice system work for everyone, and she will do it with compassion and fairness. So whether you live in Avondale or Evanston, Walnut Hills, the West End, or Mount Auburn, the people of District 1 need Janaea Trotter Bratton on the bench. She is the only Democrat in this race, and she has my full support. So on November 5th, vote Janaea Trotter Bratton for judge.
Thank you, Judge Rucker. It is an honor to have your endorsement. I ask you to elect me, Janaea Trotter Bratton, as the first Black woman to be elected to this judicial seat.
Paid for by the committee to elect Janaea Trotter Bratton judge.
Hello, this is Ron Dumas. Now is the time to vote for the only candidate that's never prosecuted hundreds of our people, who has never testified in a judge's trial, and sadly, that judge was found guilty of that very offense.
Our people died for your right to vote. Please do not let anyone or anything take away your freedom of choice. There is freedom and power in your vote. I still remember the image of Miss Jane Pittman. Please don't let anyone assume that they have your vote just because they hand you a paper or a ticket. We are smart people.
Now is the time to vote for Judge Elisa Murphy, who is fair, just, and the most experienced, who has been on the bench a total of 16 and a half years, who has fought on the front lines with Judge Leslie Isaiah Gaines, who has over 25 years of experience as a defense attorney, who is from Evanston, and her family own the Old Southern Restaurant in the West End.
I am honored to follow Judge Leslie Isaiah Gaines, Judge John Berlew, and Judge John Skip West, who all came from this balanced, nonpartisan district. Please vote for your homegrown judge, Judge Elisa Murphy.
Paid for by Murphy for Judge.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're moving real fast here because at the bottom of the hour, I'm scheduled to be joined by Ozie Davis. Ozie Davis is a current member of the Cincinnati School Board, and he's embarked on a write-in campaign. So if you have any Ozie Davis specific, or you have school board questions in general for a member of the school board, please line them up, and we'll start that at 8:30 a.m. On the line right now, I've got a man who ran for Cincinnati City Council, and his name is Derek Bauman. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Nate. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. What's going on? Welcome.
Well, thank you. First of all, I live in District 1, and so obviously I support Janaea. She's going to be a great municipal court judge for us. But my bigger question is, we had the situation last week with, and I'm not going to mention any names because maybe that's what they're trying to do, but the Republican that's running for school board putting out advertisements that make it look as though he's African American, and then putting out another post on Facebook saying that he's endorsed by the African American firefighters, which they don't endorse. They just give a letter grade rating. And then thirdly, recently, we've heard about up in Springfield Township in the trustees race where Jamie Ray, the Democrat, is up against a Republican opponent who reportedly is going around knocking on doors and flat out saying that she's a Democrat or not a Republican. So there seems to be a pattern here. I think maybe Janaea hit it on the head when she says it's desperation because the Republicans are kind of losing power, throughout Hamilton County. But it's really kind of shameful that you can't embrace who you are. If that's who you are, then embrace it and own it and don't, lie to the voters. But I think it's very telling that we're seeing, multiple of these incidents from the Republican Party, and it's just shameful. So I'll be out on Saturday knocking on doors for Janaea here in District 1, and so I encourage everybody to support their candidates and certainly get out and vote because it's an important election and is historically a time of low turnout. So hopefully we can get everybody out to the polls.
All right, Derek, thanks for the call, man.
Hey, appreciate it, Nate. Thank you.
Def. Yeah, you want to throw some Janaea Trotter love. He says support Janaea Trotter. It's a very important race. Very important. All of the races are important, as you can see. All right, starting in about the 3 minutes, I'm scheduled to be joined by a current member of the Cincinnati School Board. I believe he's been in there one term, right? Speaking of Brother Ozie Davis. So we'll check out. If anybody's going to keep it real with us about what's going on, I expect that to be Ozie Davis. He's been there, done that. And he wants your vote to be reelected. We shall see. We shall see. Good morning to you. Let me see here. Man, that's just so much. I'm telling you, 2020 in the city of Cincinnati is going to be for people that are into politics, it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting in terms of people who are running. There's going to be people running. There's going to be that first timers that'll be exciting candidates. You're going to have some names that are more familiar, people coming back to politics that might excite people. You're going to have various action-oriented groups, civic-minded groups. I'm seeing it already. Progressive groups, black groups, groups from various demographics that are going to be giving us information. That's just locally, okay? Nationally, it's going to be, because Trump's going to put out he's going to do whatever it takes to be reelected. Again, if you're a one-term president, the one thing you want more than anything else is to be a two-term president. A two-term president. See here, give me 1 second. I need to take a message here. Yes, so let me go to the phones here. I don't want to keep talking about that because I'm expecting a phone call from Ozie Davis, and I've got a call on the line. Let's go straight to it. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Nathan. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Ozie Davis. How you doing, sir?
I won't complain. It's nice to be with you and the Choppers.
Absolutely, man. Now, are we on speaker? I hear a little something in the background there. If we're on speaker, it would be better if we were not.
Okay, no problem. Let me take that. Hold on.
All right. There it is, guys. If you got any questions, please line them up, and I'll try to make sure I mix them in.
I took it off speaker.
Okay, there it is, man. Appreciate your time this morning.
Same with you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, most def, man. So let's get into it, man. You've embarked on your re-election campaign. Is this your first term on the Cincinnati School Board?
It is. I was appointed to the school board 17 months ago.
Okay.
So this is actually the first time that I'm running for school board. In 2017, I ran for city council. Was unsuccessful. I finished in 11th. It was my first time ever running for elected office.
Right.
So I took Lannis Timmons' seat, who took Chris Nell's seat. Chris Nell's passed, unfortunately. May he rest in peace. I encouraged Lannis, because he was so much like Chris, to go after that seat. And we were fortunate that the school board appointed Lannis to that seat. And Lannis had done a great job, but it wasn't his cup of tea. Let's say that, especially after the Stargell Stadium vote. He just didn't sit well with him. And he also wanted to coach basketball, so he went to coach basketball at Euler, and then he in return encouraged me to seek his seat, because at the time that he sought the seat, I was running for city council. And many people asked me to seek the seat, but I didn't think it was right to stop doing what I was doing because there was an opportunity. That didn't sit well with me. So when he did step off, I sought the seat and was appointed by the current school board.
Okay. And now Lannis is the coach for the Ohio Kings, I believe, which sounds great, man. I wish those brothers the best, and got a lot of respect for Timmons. So let me back up here, because my approach with the interviews this go round is I just want to approach it as if, we're meeting for the first time, because there's people out there who don't know you. I'm familiar with you and your work. So I want to take that approach. So are you from the city of Cincinnati? Tell us about what neighborhood you grew up in.
They call me A1 from day one. So I've been on the same street in Avondale for 54 years. I was born on Eden, went to Rockdale, went to Burton, went to Walnut Hills, went to Miami, Ohio for undergrad, went to Indiana for grad school and law school. When I came back home, we bought a house across the street from the apartment that I was born and raised in. So I've been on Eden my entire life. When I got back from law school, I joined the Avondale Community Council. Bernadette Watson, I often joke that she suckered me into joining the Avondale Community Council, but she really saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She saw that drive for others. And at a very young age, I joined the Avondale Community Council, and that is what really propelled me into community service. And I've been serving the community ever since, whether it's for the community council or some other entity that represents our community.
Is it safe to say that Avondale's on the come up? What's the near future, the future for Avondale, just as a sidebar?
Well, I'll tell you, Avondale's definitely on the come up. The question is, will Black people be a part of it? And that's a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle. But we're definitely in the right direction, going in the right direction.
Okay. We'll come back to that one day then. But back to the school board. So why did you decide to run for school board, or to even take that seat that Lannis had?
So much of it in my heart was the work that Chris Nelms had done. Chris Nelms was a mentor of mine, a friend, a colleague. And when he got on the school board, he pushed a lot of the things that I would think was important. My history, having worked inside the district, also gave me an insight to what board members had been doing over the course of the last 15, 20 years. Kathy Ingram is like a big sister to me. Eileen Cooper Reed, I call her Mama Cooper. It's like Vanessa White. She's another big sister to me. Somebody that's a daily person that I talk to, and confidant. That's the word I was looking for. So these past board members I had already had relationships with. When I got back to Avondale, one of the first things that I did with the community council was join the LSDMC, the local school decision-making committee at Burton Elementary, one of my alma maters. And from Burton, I joined the Rockdale LSDMC. From Rockdale, I joined the Woodridge LSDMC. So I've been on local school decision-making committee since '98, and I stayed on Rockdale's until I was appointed to the school board. My son went to Rockdale and then went to Walnut Hills. And like I said, I stay on the same street. So I was born 2 blocks away from Rockdale Elementary School, and I'm still 2 blocks away from Avondale Elementary School, or Rockdale Academy now. So that when Landis was stepping down, that was deep in me, that we had to have somebody that was going to honor Chris's. You know, I keep telling people, I'm running now for a seat on the school board, but I'm sitting in Chris's seat. I would like to have my own seat and make my own legacy. But right now, I'm sitting in Chris Nelm's seat. And it's an honor for me to sit in Chris Nelm's seat. And that's what I saw when Landis was sitting in that seat. It was that's enough for me, because Landis is somebody that I look up to. When he stepped down, I thought it was important for our community to have somebody in that seat that would be looking out for our community, like Chris Nelms did.
Speaking with Ozie Davis, he's a current member of the Cincinnati School Board. So just to be clear, so everybody knows, there's essentially 2 races in one almost, right? So on one hand, you have Pam Bowers, who's running to fill out an expired term, and you've got 2 people who are running against that incumbent. And then on the other half, you have where you are. Could you explain that so people know?
Yes. This is where I'm most unique. I don't believe there's ever been a school board member that was appointed to the school board and then had an opportunity to appoint somebody to the school board. So when I was appointed to the school board, that made 7 of us. Then Erica Copeland Dansby, she resigned from the school board. That made the 6 of us have to then go appoint another school board member for her seat. So Pam Bowers won that appointment to represent Erica to the end of her term. So Erica's term, until the election, and then Phil, 2 years left for Erica's term. So what is 3 people are running for is 2 more years of Erica's term. You understand what I'm saying? So it's 3 people running for 2 more years of Erica's terms, unexpired. And then there are 6 people running for full terms.
Right. So Pam Bowers is the incumbent, and then she's got 2 challengers. One is Meagerly, and the other is, I don't know why I just had the brother's name in my, what's the brother's name? Gary Favors. Sorry about that, Mr. Favors. Gary Favors. Right. So, and then but you're over here. So who are the challengers to your seat?
Are we going to come back to that race?
To what race?
To that race, Pam's race.
Yeah, if you want to. You've got something to say, go ahead and put it out there.
Okay. Vote for Pam Bowers. Those other guys, Gary seems to have a better demeanor now that we've been on a campaign trail for a while. But Steve Megerly, there's no way that Steve Megerly would be a good board member. He might be a good person or not. I don't know about all that. But it's taken me, I'm 17 months on the board, and it takes a while to learn the system. It definitely takes a while to work. The Cincinnati Public School Board and the Cincinnati Public Schools is a system of people. You can't just be fighting people all the time. You have to be able to be deliberate and discuss things with people and be passionate and advocate for things without being offensive to people. And that won't work. Steve Megerly's way won't work. Gary Favors is a good guy. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the campaign trail. The Republican interests are always frightening. And between the 3, Pam Bowers is clearly more situated to represent our community. Having been a parent, being a mental health expert. She was so significant in having the school board put Gamble Montessori High School in Mercy High School. Pam Bowers is probably the top advocate for that. So this is somebody that's been involved with the school system already, where while Gary is a teacher in the system, I've never seen him at a school board meeting, never seen him, never heard of him advocating for anything. And this is something, when we talk about my side of the race, it's something that it interests me, because sometimes, and you already know from your own interview with Megley, he's never done anything with schools, which is frightening to me, right? Just absolutely frightening. So I would say Pam Bowers. Now, on our side, the other challengers, it's me, Eve, Carolyn, the incumbents, Ben Lindy, Marlena Brookfield, and Heather Couch. And any of those three people would be people I could work with on the school board. Any of them. They're all good people. Marlena, man, I love Marlena. I was listening to her interview. I heard her having difficulty being disappointed in me. I texted her. It's okay to be disappointed in me, Marlena. I'm disappointed in myself, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But I love her. She don't miss a meeting. Man, I mean, she's at student achievement. She's at policy. She's at finance. She's at school board meetings. She doesn't miss a meeting. For me, that means a lot. Like, she's into it. I haven't seen Ben at a school board meeting or advocating for anything for our kids. I know he runs TFA. Ben and I are friends, but I don't see a history. He definitely had at Rockdale or South Avondale or Taft or Evanston Academy, the schools that I'm in, the schools that Roll Hill, the schools that, for me, the neighborhood schools that I care most about. That's definitely not this area, and neither was Heather. And Heather actually calls herself a rookie. So while they're good people to join the school board, you would think they would need to be better than the incumbents. And I don't necessarily know if that's the case. But I wouldn't say none of them could do it. I'm far from that. I actually believe that any of them could do it. Mm-hmm. It takes a learning curve. Some people say, well, I've been doing all this and won't take a learning curve. I had been super ultra involved with the district for 20 years. And being on the school board is another monster. It's another beast. It's a whole nother level of involvement. And it took at least a good 9 months to get comfortable knowing what's what. I mean, I have to keep getting updates, and I asked the superintendent for updates around the org chart. I want to make sure that I'm on top of who's doing what. When I got on school board, I thought I knew that. I didn't know who reported to who. You call me about an issue like I'm running the school district, and I'm not. I'm a board member. So if it's a transportation issue, I need to know who to go to. I go to the superintendent on any issue, but I also go to the staff she appoints me to. So if you call me about transportation, I know we got to talk to Lauren Johnson. All right. You call me about communications, I know we got to talk to Lauren Ward. You call me about hiring Black teachers, I know I got to talk to Julia Inglacio. Like, I know that from being on the board, but I promise you, I did not know those things when I was not on the board. So that the question you brought up in your interview with Megley about being involved is so critical, and I'm not hearing a lot of the candidates talk about what they know about the school district, mm-hmm. and that I think that's what separates the incumbents.
Okay, people are like, I can't follow the interview, and basically he just gave us a breakdown of speaking with Ozie Davis, current member of the Cincinnati School Board and running for re-election. But he just gave us a breakdown of his view of the other candidates, which I honestly was on my list. I was going to ask you that and you also answered my question, like, so has the experience met your expectations? You know, are you able to do what you thought you wanted to do, or what now that you've been on the board?
It's still evolving. It's still evolving. What I'm able to do, and I was appreciative that Marlena really spoke to it. What I'm able to do is ask questions and advocate. That's what I'm able to do. But it's a stretch to say I'm going to do this. Well, 6 other people have to agree with you. And, 6 other board members have to agree with you. And the superintendent sets the course for the district. While we set the vision, she sets the course. It's her district to run. I don't call Laura Mitchell and say, do this, and expect her just to jump. It doesn't work like that, and it shouldn't. Laura Mitchell is a consummate professional. She's the best superintendent this district's ever had.
Well, answer me this, Ozie. What leverage does the school board have? What is that relationship? Do you have leverage over the superintendent?
Certainly, but jointly. So if something was going on, let's take real case examples, because I just deal with them best. Student murdered on Reading Road, right? So the district's response team was going to students' school. Well, I was at the student's apartment building, and kids from many schools live in that apartment building. So I called Superintendent Mitchell. Superintendent Mitchell, what's our process for getting? As a matter of fact, Reggie Harris from TCB called me and asked me, was there going to be a response team in South Avondale? And I said, I don't know. Hold on, let me get back to you. Then I called Laura and I said, what's our process for response teams in critical times like this? And she said, we'll send a response team to the school that the child attended. Okay, I said, well, I don't think that's enough. And I said, can you check to see if we can do other things? And then when she went to do her work, I went to do my work. I went to make sure that school board members knew about what was going on, and they could weigh in on their own. Like, so there's no going back and getting everybody on your side, and then it doesn't work like that. Laura, in her own rights, agreed that was the best thing to do, to get response teams to as many other schools where kids in the building lived, and we did. We got response teams to Woodrow, Schroeder, South Avondale. The kid went to Woodward. Response team was already at Woodward because we had information. So a lot of times, I have a lot more community information than others, just because I live deep in the community. Like, a lot of people say they work in the community. Well, I live in the community. Like, the community is me. I'm in and about, particularly the empowerment zone neighborhoods on a regular. They call my van the hood Uber. I got a speakerphone in the front seat, so I'm constantly on the speakerphone asking people to, hey, yo, y'all can't be gambling right there. Hey, yo, come on, man, please. Don't litter like that. I mean, you can ask anybody, especially in Avondale, do that guy ride around with the speakerphone asking you to not do things that we shouldn't be doing, or do things like, hey, man, I need y'all to vote. And in Ozie Davis, I've been doing that so much lately, I've been irritating myself. You know, like, oh, man, he already heard that, I'm sure. So that is another distinguishable characteristic of mine. And it helps inform the superintendent and administration, so it really alleviates any type of frustration that I've had in my expectations on the board. But I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to impact large change, like growth. You know, we had a forum last night in Amberley, and the conversation about growth was the target conversation. And it concerns me. I want to know answers. I want to have deadlines. I want to have timelines. I don't want to keep saying we're going to get to it, because there's so many schools across the district that are really dealing with, overcrowdedness. including my alma mater, Walnut Hills. So it's not just elementary schools like Pleasant Ridge and Hyde Park. Daters dealing with it. So we got to deal with it. We got to deal with growth in a real succinct way, but we also have to be forthright with people and saying, okay, we're not getting to your school this year. Okay, when are you going to get to my school? Because that's what I really want to know. It looks like it's going to be 5 years before we can get to your school. Well, what are we going to do in the interim? Well, I mean, we got to do pods. Nobody wants pods. I know. But I went to Walnut Hills when we had pods. So,
Have you been back to Walnut Hills lately?
Yeah, I was over there the other day.
Are you hip to what's going on with the culture and, some of the challenges that they're dealing with over there?
Absolutely.
Right.
They're continual. Like I said, my son's only a junior at UC, so he just got out of there 3 years ago, and they're continual. And I deal with a number of African American students, primarily that go to Walnut Hills now, to stay abreast of just how tough the culture is, and it's a stressful environment already. So,
right,
the overcrowdedness is something that is impacting the entire system. I heard, I think it was on your show, talking about a child being concerned with metal detectors. And
yeah.
I have the exact same concerns.
Yeah.
Like, I know for a fact, when we first put metal detectors up at Walnut Hills, I know for a fact, kids were like, don't bother me because I'm going through the back. I'm going through the side.
Right.
All right. So I was like, some of that is work that we have to continue to do. It's definitely not perfect.
Yeah, so it was my daughter. She goes to Walnut Hills. So she's like, Dad, what's the use of going through these metal detectors if they don't really check your bag? They just, you open it up, they say, oh, it's open. And if you chime through the metal detector, they'll ask you, do you have a cell phone? Yeah, I got a cell phone. They walk you straight through. What's the purpose? And you know what'll happen if there's a mass shooting, God forbid there's a mass shooting, people are going to start putting these things in place. So why not be proactive? And it's just too many mass shootings out there. And I just think that, we should be safe. Right?
Yeah, we have to do a much better job here.
So what happened, man? So why are you doing a write-in candidate thing? What happened? Did you not get enough signatures in? Break us down and tell us all about that.
Well, let me say this. I am wholly accountable for the failure of my campaign to get the requisite number of signatures prior to the campaign filing deadline. We handed in close to you need 300. We handed in close to 500. I think it was 476 was the exact number. Close to 200 of our signatures were invalidated by the Board of Election. Large number of purge voters, large number of people that thought they were voters that were no longer voters. That's a bad thing for me, but a good thing for them because we informed as many of them as we could after we got over the shock of not being on the ballot. Large number of, they call it invalid addresses. Invalid addresses. You moved, you put the old address down, that doesn't work. And then a large number of invalid signatures. Your signature on a petition has to match your signature on your registration card. If you printed on the petition and you signed on your registration card, your signature did not count. If you printed on your registration card and you signed on the petition, your signature did not count. So we had a large number, abnormally large number of signatures invalidated. It was not expected, it was not our plan. As I said, in 2017, I ran for city council. I know how to get signatures. It was a failure on my part. I'm wholly accountable for it. I understand that it has given people, like almost a vindictive nature in regards to, our mess up. It's like, oh, he messed up, I ain't voting for him. And I just plead with people to see the actual service over the mistake. the era. It's definitely not a sign of how much. I mean, people have been. One thing I appreciate is people have been straightforward in my face with this from the first day. I mean, like family. Like, man, ain't no damn way. I mean, I appreciate it because I've learned a valuable lesson about ensuring that processes are taken care of before time. So if I would ever have to run again and I needed 300, I'm going to give them 2,000. For one, getting signatures for me is not difficult. I'm very well known. I can stand on the corner of Rockdale and Burnet and get 100 signatures. So it was a big error. I'm very disappointed in myself. I'm wholly accountable. We don't run from it. We ask people to forgive us and then look toward our service. I've got 17 months that you can go back and look at. You know, there's a lot on the campaign trail talking about standing up for black kids. I've been doing that for 17 months. And I text you that one morning. You had somebody, stand up for black kids? That's what I do. That's 70%. That's poor, black. Those are the people that I care for first, not most, first. Because those is me. That's me. That's who I was at Rockdale. That's who I care for first. Yeah, I got a diverse opportunity to care for a variety of people because that's been my life. Yeah, I went to Walnut Hills. And yeah, I care for Walnut Hills. I do. It's my alma mater. I care for it as much as anybody cares for their alma mater. Absolutely. My friends went to Hughes and Woodward and Taft and Woodrow, and when they got pride, I got twice as much pride. Come on with it. You know that's how I feel. And I ask people to look toward my service. And at the same time, I say, and if you cannot understand, bro, sis, I understand. If my failure that I'm admitting to, and if you know anything about me, one thing I don't say is I'm perfect. 'Cause I'm not. I'm far from it. I'm probably the most regular, blessed guy that I know. Been blessed in education. Been blessed with the opportunity to work at LISC and with the congressmen and in the neighborhoods and across the country. Those are blessings, but I'm a regular guy. Like otherwise, outside of my blessings, very regular. And, I messed up. And there are no good reasons why. I didn't plan to mess up.
Speaking with Brother Ozie Davis, current member of school board running for re-election. Ozie, before I forget, man, are you going to be at the Gabriel Place debates tonight?
You know it.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, great. So that's an opportunity for people to meet you.
This is the last.
I believe it is too. So it's an opportunity for people to meet you face to face and to ask whatever questions they have with you. So you pretty much put it out there, man.
Yard sign.
Yeah, you pretty much put it out there, man. I mean, it sounds like you've been talking to the people and people have been real with you because you pretty much answered or spoke to a lot of what I've been hearing. Like the number one question I got was not school board. You would think related. It was what happened with this? What happened with this? Asking what happened with the signatures because, like you said, I mean, I know you to be a very popular guy. I don't think getting 400 or if you had to get 2,000 signatures would be hard for you. So people were wondering, what does that say about you? And it sounds like you spoke to you. You're just going, at this point, what can you do? It is what it is. Like you said, it's a learning thing. But it does open the door for somebody else because I don't know, when was the last time a write-in candidate won? I can't remember. Not that I've done any heavy research or anything.
It's not a very popular place to be. And I don't know the last time a write-in candidate won, but I also don't know the last time a write-in candidate was an incumbent. That's ultra rare. Like most write-in candidates are not incumbents. I'm super disappointed in that it has opened the door and given folk an excuse not to vote for me, particularly white folk that didn't want to vote for me in the first place. So now they use it as an excuse. anybody that will give you a list of candidates that doesn't a list of candidates that doesn't include a black man on the school board, they're not for, in my opinion, they're not for black people. And the other black man running is not somebody that I would necessarily say is of the black community. So,
Are you speaking of Gary Favors?
Yes, sir.
You don't
He's
think
the only other black man running.
Yeah, he is. So you're saying you don't think he's other community?
Not really. I mean, he's black, but hey, and from what I understand, he live in Avondale. That's what they tell me. I ain't never seen him on the street. And so 97, I got back. So for all those years, I've been on the block, like working in the neighborhood. And I'm not gonna go outside the neighborhood. So I'm not gonna start naming organizations and all that, because I get frustrated with that myself, although I'm a part of a bunch of them. But if you want to define then of a neighborhood or of a community, let's start with the one you live in. So yes, sir, that's what everybody that lives in Avondale is not a part of Avondale.
I understand.
Especially when it comes to that term community. I got people that live in the neighborhood that are hella important at their jobs, but they don't function in the black community. They do their job, they come home, they live in their house. When you say of community, that's different. Those are people that are doing something outside of individual stuff. I do stuff for us, for groups of us, right? Not just for Ozie's house. If it was just for Ozie's house, we wouldn't be on the phone. Because
so Ozie, break this down for me, man. So now you've been on the other side for 17 months from a school board member. Like, that ain't in the classroom every day. You're not running a class. You're not an administrator over a school. So we understand that there are limits to your power. Because to me, I think everybody wants good intentions, right? If you could sprinkle some fairy dust, it would all be solved tomorrow. But it's much more complex than that. But why do you think, from the perspective from black people in this city, why is this district struggling to produce for our children in particular, in your opinion, from your vantage point?
Oh, it's systematic. It's societal. The same issues that we have outside the education system are the issues we have inside the educational system. There's a historic neglect for black people. It's a historic. It's white supremacy. It's the same things, and they play out differently. And it's one of my best reasons for wanting to stay on the school board, because I like to call it out. And it's not just white teachers or black teachers. It's not that. It's more. It's cultural, and it's what side bends. Like, it's not 1950, so a kid's not gonna come in the classroom and just sit there and do exactly what you say. It just doesn't work like that. And it doesn't matter if you're at a black school or a more diverse school. It just doesn't work like that anymore. The times have changed, so the system has to change faster with it. And I think we're seeing that. And CPS, I think CPS is ahead of the curve in regards to identifying these issues, particularly race issues. Now, I have to credit Mike Morawski for ensuring, although I was on that beaten path, to ensure that racial bias and racial equity was called out in our strategic plan. I was on that beaten path, but Brother Morawski, he was not going to let it rest. Like, I probably brought it up first, that I want to see racial disparities listed. Like, I want to conquer racial disparities, because ultimately racial disparities are the greatest issue we have in the school district. They're across the board, whether it's discipline, whether it's academic achievement, whether it's AP courses. It does, you name it, and racial disparities exist. graduation rates, going on to college, it doesn't matter. You name it, and racial disparity exists. And we have to hit it head on. Having that in our strategic plan is huge. That's telling you that you're in a district that's willing to meet it head on. And then you got to have school board members that are interested in continuing to push the fold. When I got on the school board, there was no talk about African-American business and is African-American business getting a piece of that $650 million until Ozie Davis brought it up. And in policy right now, we're working with the Trina Levins and her department around ensuring African-Americans get a piece of the business.
What business?
African-American.
Flesh that out for me, Ozie. What business? What business are you speaking of? School board business?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What type of industries could be are making money off of this? And you're saying black entrepreneurs, black folks are not getting a piece of this?
Not getting enough of it at all. I just had a conversation with Jesse and Iris the other day because I wanted to know if they're getting a piece of it because I didn't know.
So when you say piece of, what type of industries are surfacing CPS, and there might be some opportunities?
Think about it. Everything is servicing CPS, right? Food vendors, construction vendors, who sells paper suppliers. It's like a big city. The district is humongous. There are opportunities across the board for interaction with the district, and then I want to ensure from the inside that our interactions are meeting and reaching African Americans, and that's what we're doing right now in policy, working with those systems that to make sure that African Americans are receiving a piece of that pie. But if you think about the vast amount of opportunity lines, I mean, and I don't know all the business sectors that we're in, but if there was somebody, say, that was a laptop provider, right? An African-American laptop provider, I would be one to encourage them to come to the district, and I would be one to encourage the district to find a way to work with some African Americans to sell laptops. And if we don't have, and I'm just using this as an example, it's not a real one. I told you earlier I like to use real ones, but I don't have a real one to use right here. But if we don't have an African American laptop provider, okay. But if we do, let's figure a way to share that portion with African Americans. And then I would ask the African American then to come back, and it's like I would do any business, to come back and give back inside the district some type of way. I think you always have to close the loop like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of our biggest suppliers is petroleum oil. I didn't know this. Steve Hightower. I didn't know that Hightower Petroleum was servicing the district. So I just see so many opportunities. I don't know who. I mean, do you? I mean, who does school chairs? Who does desks?
Right.
Who does whiteboards?
Right. And all the stuff inside of a cafeteria. Right. Right. I hear what you're saying.
Everything you see, we got to buy it. So I'm like, that's the first thing, because I remember when we went through the facilities master plan and we was rebuilding the school, I remember a protest at a school on construction. And I know construction has kind of whittled down, but and I don't have the current numbers on Stargill Stadium, but I believe we did decent on minority expenditures. But even last year, we rehabbed Clifton School to put Clifton area neighborhood schools. We rehabbed Gable Elementary. We rehabbed Mercy Montessori. I don't know. I don't have, as I talk to you, I don't have the recent numbers on minority spend on if we just talk of construction.
Are those numbers being calculated by the district? Is there so
Absolutely.
much job it is? who tabulates
Absolutely.
that? Is that public information? Is it accessible with a request?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Speaking with Ozie Davis, current member of Cincinnati School Board. Hey, Ozie, let me go to the audience here and get some audience questions in. This is from Iris. Iris writes, do you believe that the scores from the state are real numbers? And if so, what are you and the current board planning to do about the low overall grades in multiple schools in the inner city?
It would be my sister to ask such a difficult question. The answer is no. I believe that the grades are real numbers. I believe that we have to change the way the state grades schools. And I believe we have to look at schools much more individually in regards to what progress looks like. The other side of my mind is going, but it's still a grade. And I'm not happy with our grades, particularly at high school, where none of our schools are excelling, except Walnut Hills, SCPA, and Clark. And that has to stop. But there has to continue to be in our district, and our lobbyists have been continually in I believe having some success at talking with the state legislation around how you value the have a grade is difficult in of itself, but how you value and the wealth calculation and how poverty plays a part, all that's real. All that's real, and to have a big urban district like ours, it would be difficult with the way the current structure is set for us to get a good grade. Any of our schools that are highly impacted by poverty, it's going to be very difficult to get a good grade. But look at Evanston. Evanston got an A. And a lot of Stacy's work has been around ensuring, and this is where I think that your Iris's question motivates me. I can't do the D's and F's. And while I don't think the report card is the best way to do it, if you got a D or F, it does identify something going on at the school. It may not be exactly about academics, but it is definitely saying something's going on at the school. So we have to address whether it's emotional, whether it's mental health oriented, what are the needs inside the school so we can really get to the academics. And I see it personally at Rockdale, in my school, where Belinda Tells Wallace is doing fantabulous work. But you see the videos and you see how the kids get down at Rockdale and the teachers and, rapping about bullying in the morning, swagging in the afternoon with the teachers, swag. And the teachers is dancing with the kids and they're using different methods to reach the kids. And then that's what gets the parents in, and then now you got a community of kids that's fostering education. That's how Rockdale came up. That's how Evanston's come up. But it wasn't about the grades. It wasn't about the report card, but the report card instigated us determining what are these factors. High poverty schools, you're never going to get a good grade. The reason people say that is because of those social determinants that are addressed inside of that poverty. When people say poverty, they ain't just talking about people poor. They're talking about all the social determinants that are connected to poverty, whether it's social emotional disturbances, whether it's mental health challenges, whether it's a kid just comes to school dirty. See, at Rockdale, we got a grown room. You can come to school how you want to, but when you go to class, you're going to be fresh. So you can learn like everybody else. And that's where I see. And
feel good about yourself like everybody else, right? Because that's all kids really want to do. Right. Feel good, fit in, be fly like everybody else. Right. And that way they can focus on the school.
Focus on school. You ain't got to focus on with your hair combed. Mama might not have woke up and combed your hair. So what? Come on to school.
Hey, Ozie, I want to get some more questions in here, man. Pat writes,
yes, sir.
How do you feel about the stadium? How did you feel about the stadium? Now, that wasn't your vote. Did you have to vote on any of the stadium issues?
No. The stadium wasn't my vote, but the stadium, when it was going on, I was talking to school board members from the outside and asking them to ensure that they got all they could for West End residents that attended Taft and Hayes Porter. Taft and Hayes Porter are the CPS West End schools. I was not. I was happy that the district got the $10 million, but I was not happy that residents that attend Hayes Porter and Taft, and particularly Taft, because 90% of the kids at Hayes Porter are West End kids, 90% or more. At Taft, high schools, you can come from all over. So I don't know the exact percentage, but it'd probably be around 60 or 70. But I need those residents. For me, on the outside, it seemed like the school board didn't switch over to residents. They just kept it straight focused on school. And that's not a good thing to do when you're dealing with schools and neighborhoods, because you got to deal with the residents that go to that school, particularly in the West End. I would have liked to see more of that. And then the final agreement with FC, I'm not a big fan of, outside of the $10 million the district got, I'm not a big fan of the agreement and, where they're going to put soccer stuff. And I think the school district could have got a lot more from FC. It just came down to a bricks and mortar. In my opinion, it came down to a bricks and mortar conversation more than it came down to a residents that go to these schools conversation. That's a challenge for me.
How do you think you would have voted?
I think I would have voted no, because my understanding of what's going on with the city side it just would have impacted me. But I at the same time, I see how my colleagues voted yes, and you have to they had to have just turned off the city side. And my personal belief is Ozie can't do that, and that's one of the qualities I bring to the school board is the city side, the community side. Like that, I do that already. So it's like I don't think I would have been able to turn that off to focus solely on the school side. Now, if you just look at the school side, they flipped the stadium across the street. They got $10 million for it. Okay, they didn't injure the school system. The school system was not injured by the FC deal. Now, I'm not a FC proponent the way it went down, and I would say that no matter if the school system agreed to switch stadiums, from a city perspective, it still should have been a no.
Speaking with current Cincinnati School Board member Ozie Davis, a bunch of questions, man. Going back to the audience, here's a question from Angela. She wants to know, are you aware of any current or former school board members who may have received campaign funding from FC Cincinnati connected entities?
No, I'm not aware of any, but to be honest with you, I don't really check people's financial records. So it's funny because last night, one of the candidates hung out some campaign information about Gary Favors, and they were saying that he was getting supported by dark money, and it was funny. I don't know of anybody that's getting, lender money. I know I've never gotten any. So I don't know who all the other people inside of FC. but I haven't gotten any money from any of those rich people. They don't seem to answer my calls. Well, I've never called on the lender, so I can't necessarily say that.
Somebody writes, this is from Donyetta, all CPS high schools are failing, Ozie, what's up? Question mark. Like, what's the plan? What's the plan for the district to address these failing schools? And you said earlier you thought that it shouldn't be looked upon as a district-wide thing. You said you believe that you should look at it, building by building. And does that affect the approach?
Yeah, but I think, what is fascinating is 9 out of 16 high school principals are black men. 9 out of 16 high school principals are black men. And it appears that the district is leaning on black men to help us solve this issue. And I think it's going to take black men to help us, quite frankly. And you got to have good leadership from principal and to the staff. The teachers are frontline, and then we got to have an understanding with one another, from the community to the schools. I've been in some schools, and I'm disappointed. So, I wish I had the answer.
You said you go to the schools and you're disappointed?
It's not. Oh, absolutely. I've walked through schools and seen kids with their phones out during the instructional time. I walked through schools and seen kids with their heads down on the desk during instructional time, and that's unacceptable.
So what happens next? So here you are, Ozie Davis, school board member. You walk through the school, you see something you don't like. What happens next?
It's funny. The thing I did with the phones is, while I was in the school, I sent a text to the district lawyer, who is the staff person of policy. I'm the chairperson of policy. And I said, yo, Dan, can students have their phone out during class? Like, what's our policy? First, I need to check on what's our policy to make sure we ain't crazy. We're not allowing this. He shot me a text right back. No, we just revised the policy in 2018 that says you can have phones on campus, but not out during instructional time. Then I went to the principal. I went straight to the principal and then let him know, hey, look, bruh, I was walking and I saw, and from what I understand, he took care of it. But it can't be, that's my life in Avondale. When I ride up, they put the dice up. Now, it can't be just when I walk past. It has to be everybody. We all got to have high expectations. We all got to have high standards. We all have to, and then we all have to push for those things. And it can't be a Becky thing where you're always calling the police on kids. It can't be that either, because, and that's why cultural competence is so important. And these kids, they know if you care about them or not. And we have to address caring about kids. And we have to make sure it goes back to ensuring that the kids are getting the resources they need to handle the environments, the toxic and traumatic environments that they're being raised in. So this is not purely an educational question. But I can tell you that our schools, especially the schools that are outside of the three that are not failing, they are being impacted by the traumatic and toxic environment in which our kids are growing up in.
Do you think that let me talk about school safety for a second, and on two levels. So making sure that nobody brings weapons into the schools, which you kind of touched a little earlier with the metal detectors, and you're aware of that. But also making sure that the schools themselves are places that don't become incubators for, to bring out bad behaviors or just the wrong situation. So, I mean, how do you feel, we all know about what happened with Gabriel Tay. Do you think the CPS doing enough to address that kind of environment, bully situations, making sure that that there's that the administration is responsive. I can tell you my own situation, which, not with any big details, but having the frustration that they give you this number to call CPS, you call it, nobody ever gets back to you. And to me, that only breeds just the wrong emotions, and then parents' issues are never addressed, which they should be. What's your take on that? Do you think enough is being done since the situation with Gabriel Tay to address those issues that may have led to it? And then what are you hearing? What's being done to make sure that our school cultures are safe environments and we don't have the adults making it worse?
Well, we definitely have to do more around ensuring that the bullying piece is being addressed. I was talking to Celeste Treese, who her company ComEn has been doing some community engagement for the district, and this is just last night. And she was sharing with me that they've been hearing the bullying concerns more than transportation concerns from parents. Last year, we had Cohere and Citizens for Civic Renewal across the district talking to parents, students, community members about bullying, and we heard the same thing. Bullying is such a concern, and we have to continue to address it. We have to ensure that there are more professional developments for our staff to be able to identify when bullying is occurring. We have to have more training for students and parents, community members, to be able to identify when bullying is occurring. And then we have to have systematic processes in place to be able to report and then rectify whatever is happening in regards to this bullying. And it all has to be done outside of sending somebody to jail or suspending the kid forever. It's a very complex situation. A lot of times we spend all our time on the victim of bullying, and I've encouraged administration to spend as much time on the offender, because hurt people, right? And the bully is often making a cry for help, right? And the kid that's being bullied is in the absolute worst position. Mm-hmm. Can't fight back, right? And now I hate that one. I hate to see a child that is fighting back become disciplined. It's almost like a referee that sees the second foul, right? She smacked me. In my house, I was raised, somebody hit you, hit them back. That's just how I was raised. And I don't know that that's how that's how I would raise a kid today. But at the same time, we have to have more conflict resolution and teaching conflict resolution. We have to have more spaces in our buildings where kids can calm themselves, calming rooms. A lot of these things I see at work at Rockdale. Like, and I use Rockdale a lot because I'm in there a lot. So there may be things going on in other schools across the district as well, particularly around, I know some schools have yoga, some schools definitely have calming spaces where kids can calm down and we can address what happened. I mean, Tubbs Wallace, if she has an incident, at some point those two kids are going to talk it out. What happened? So we can, at the end of the day, reduce it. And that's a long-winded way to say we have to. I don't think we could ever do enough until it's gone. When it's gone, we've done enough. When there's no more bullying, we've done enough. But until then, we have to continue to ensure that we're surpassing the mark on professional development. Like I said to you about Rockdale, in the morning they do the bullying song. All schools should do that. Let's remind everybody in the morning, hey, no bullying. That's a reminder. It's not too much. It's not too much to ask, if you ask me.
Well, and it's not too much to ask for adults that, understand and recognize bullying. Let me go back over here because you're right. I remember that report that Cohere put out. I'll be honest with you, as a CPS parent, I wasn't thrilled. I didn't think it had enough teeth to it. Let me read through it on the new bullying policy. It's these are going to be the focuses, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. So peer-to-peer support to improve effort. Train adults at every school who are point of contacts. More training for all stakeholders to identifying bullying. And shifting from punitive to restorative practices, which means, not like going straight to, you've been bullying some kids, so now you're going to be suspended. Now they want to try to work with the child because you understand the child's probably working, coming from an environment at home, and they're bringing it to the school, and that's how it's manifesting. But if you're a parent on the other side and your child is being bullied, that doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that my child, because the issue is, it says more training for all stakeholders to identifying bullying. How do we not know what bullying is? You know what I'm saying? Is that something you got to be trained for?
Well, I think you might know what bullying is, but the identifying is actually seeing it, right? Because a lot of times you just don't see it. So when I see a kid looking sad, I'm not going to just say, "Oh, they sad from something happened at home." Like, if you looking sad, that's when we need to go see what's up, like right away. And a lot of times, a staff person might miss that, not even noticing that the kid's looking sad, right? Or not even noticing the kid's looking disturbed. And that's what I think the biggest part of the identification is. Let me go back to something you had said earlier that I think is important. For the parent of the child that's being bullied and for your concern around customer service, this communication gap is a real concern for me. Communication is a real concern for me, and I continue to advocate that we have better communication processes. Like, customer service 100% comes down to communication. I can't do I call, they never call me back. Number one pissed me off. I call, they never call me back. At the school system, we need to break our backs at calling our members back, our families back. We need to do whatever we can. We have to make sure that we're communicating with our families. If you have a child that's been bullied, I need you to be talked to by the principal, whoever at the school is the point person around that, the teachers. I need everybody to be comforting you that we're on top of that. I had a child in CPS. If my child came home bullied, I would expect everybody in that school to be caring about my child like I do. And that's what I think we have to continue to push. And this current board, I can't speak for boards of the past, but I can tell you this current board is into that. Messer, Morowski, Carolyn Jones, Pam Bowers, they're constantly into making sure that we got good customer service and making sure our kids and families are being communicated with. Now, I didn't say Eve and Melanie, but them too. I just pointed to people where that's what I hear them talking about a lot. Like those four are like so much on community engagement and ensuring customer service. Like Messer, that's his thing. We have to have Chick-fil-A type customer service if we're going to continue to attack some of these issues. The reason we need to have a good working relationship with our students and our families is so we can get to those grades. So we can get to. You're not going to have a good performance if you don't have a working relationship with one another. It's just not going to happen. And we see. I can show you where it's working, and then I can tell you, oh, that's because, and I go back to Rockdale, that's because you got a great working relationship. So I don't have a lot of instances where somebody's at Rockdale saying she ain't call me back or they didn't call me back. Nah, that's not happening. That's not happening at Evanston. That's the first thing you got to work on is that customer service and communication. That's huge. And then it's not just the students, Nathan. I'm getting calls from family members of staff and principals who are concerned about their safety. I'm concerned about teacher safety. I'm concerned about administration safety. We all need to be in a safe environment. And if we don't feel safe, I don't know how. If the adults don't feel safe, I don't know how the kids can feel safe. It's almost impossible.
Let me go back
right
to the.
now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
All right. No, I'm sorry. I can come back to that.
Okay, great. So I just want to give you a sense of what people are saying in the room. And there's a feeling like you're all over the place. People are looking for specific plans on these issues. So let's be as succinct as possible, man, because I want to make sure people can hear you and understand what your plan of action is, as we're addressing these issues. So somebody wants to go back to, what are your specific plans? Did you did you vote for the bully policy?
Yes.
You did? Yeah, I didn't think it had a lot of teeth to it, man. And hopefully, and again, you're right, that communication piece is key. Has the district put an effort in making sure that people are going to answer the phones and emails when parents are coming and calling, with their issues?
Yes. The district has made an effort. When we had the transportation problem, I'm not trying to be all over the place, but I'm giving you like inside real stuff. And I noticed that when I talk about this campaign, I'm not scripted. So I'm sharing what's really going on. And it may seem like it's all over the place, but it really is what's going on. So like I can be shorter with my answers, but they won't be as rich. And I'm not certain that if you're not involved, I got to find a way to better answer your questions, because I'm answering them like you're involved, and I apologize for that. You know what I mean? I apologize to the shoppers.
I follow you.
And,
but people might
and
be in and out.
I'll try to be more succinct. I apologize for that. What was the question about this?
There's a question about LSDMCs. Do you believe that the LSDMCs have too much power, not enough power, and how do they report back to the district? Do the various presidents, whoever chairs of the LSDMCs, they report directly back to the district in any way?
Yes. The LSDMCs, the local school decision-making committees, in my opinion, should have even more power. So the LSDMCs report directly to the district. In Santa Murphy, Assistant Superintendent Murphy is over LSDMCs. So LSDMCs for each school, then they have a district-wide LSDMC. So representatives from each school, they all come together. And then the LSDMCs are really the boards of the schools, and they feed into the district administration and our processes. I, as a former LSDMC member, I believe we can have even more communication from LSDMCs. LSDMCs across LSDMCs should be talking more, and even more communication from LSDMC to the community. I think that's a gap that we miss. Like, the LSDMC functions inside the school district, but the community members on the LSDMCs can do a better job of tying community concerns to school concerns. And I think we're really pressing toward making that happen.
So what are some of the decisions that the LSDMC, which is local school decision-making committee, what decisions do they make?
The biggest decision they make is they hire the principal.
Then once the principal is hired, is there any leverage that the LSDMC has over the principal once that person's put in place?
Maybe not particularly leverage, but they should be working together. The principal is a member of LSDMC. What I've found in the LSDMCs I've worked on, in my experience, the parent member of the LSDMC and the community member or members of the LSDMC have an additional amount of clout because they have outside positions, because the other members of the LSDMC, whether it's the instructional leadership team or administration, are inside members. So the community member and the parent, or parents and community members, they have an additional level of information that they're bringing to their LSDMCs. And they also have another step. Like, if you're an LSDMC member that's representing the community and you don't like what's going on at your LSDMC, then you should be coming to the district. You should be coming to the next level and sharing with what you might think. And we've had that. We've had instances where people that are on LSDMCs are saying our LSDMC is not working appropriately, and then the district is trying to address that to make it better.
Okay, so there's a little bit of checks and balances. So what's the problem? So are you believe across the district that the LSDMCs are working correctly? Is there enough diversity? Is there enough, diversity of people and opinions on an LSDMC to make them work effectively?
I'm not certain I have all the information to answer that question, because I don't know what LSDMC makeups look like outside of the few schools that I'm personally involved with. So it's difficult to answer that question.
Right.
I will say that in my experience, the LSDMCs that I've interacted with, some of them are better than others. And those that have more experienced members tend to be those that get more done for their schools.
All right. Well, brother, listen, I appreciate your time. And is there any last words you want to leave with the audience?
No, I was a little shook by the, I was all over the place because I was trying to give them as much information as I can.
No, you did. I enjoyed it, man. I mean, that's exactly why I wanted to talk with you, because you've been down there. So you got some valuable insight. But that's just some folks that was talking inside the room. So I understand. But again, anything you want to leave with people?
Well, I appreciate you. I'm available. If anybody needs to talk about the school district, I'm working. I'm available. I ask people to write in Ozie Davis. I think I should stay on school board, represent diverse views, and I'm really out, hearing the rest of the show.
Hold on one second. Tracy Rice, tell them how to spell your name. Right in Ozie Davis.
Thank you, Tracy. OZIEDAVIS. OZIEDAVIS.
You know what? I would be remiss in my duties, man. I must ask you this question, and I'm just known for one more question, but please give me this question, because I want to know, like, I would believe, what's the percentage of black teachers in CPS right now? And what is CPS doing to increase, those numbers? And what do you think about the Teach for America model? Could that be a possible way to get qualified teachers, in CPS classrooms? Should that be expanded in your opinion?
There's a lot of consternation about Teach for America. I voted for the Teach for America contract. Teach for America test particularly on our administrative side, and that's where I was most attracted, particularly around African American administrators. And as far as teachers, the only thing that concerns me about the Teach for America model is the length of time that the teachers stay. Now, I have colleagues that are professional teachers, and they have concerns around accreditation and actually being licensed to be a teacher. And I'm learning more about that. But I said this before, if TFA can help us find more African American male teachers, then I'd agree to TFA's contract again tomorrow. Whatever sourcing organization that can help us have more African-American male teachers, particularly male teachers, because there's such a dearth of opportunity for African-American male teachers across the country. But I will say that our Human Resources Department scours, the country looking for African-American teachers. So this is something that has, been continually addressed. I think we have to make our package better, and we have to continue to find those African Americans that are going into education. And the program that we just started at Aiken, I think, is one of the answers to this minority teacher concern that we have. The program at Aiken with Miami of Ohio is for high school students that think they want to go into education. And so they will start to get that training in high school working with Miami of Ohio, and then they'll get a scholarship to go to Miami of Ohio in the education department with hopes that they would then come back to the district to serve in the district that they came out of. That's a program I'm keeping my eye on, and I really have high hopes for. But TFA, I think if they continue to resource us, then I'm going to look, next time the contract comes up, I'll be examining the length of stay, because that's my concern. If teachers are staying longer, I probably will go for it again. And the other side was, how do we find more minority teachers in general? And I think our Human Resources Department is trying as hard as they can.
Well, Ozie, I appreciate your time, man, and I wish you nothing but success. I think you're a good brother, man, and I like to believe that you are a positive impact, on CPS. But here's what I would say, though, man. Early on, people got a little confused because you was giving us your opinion of the school board challengers, and who from your perspective, what you've seen. And I think people kind of got thrown off on that. But I understood, man, because you understand the realities of it, and you want to be real with people and let them know before they make the decision what your opinion is for whatever that is. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, because I've got I think that's what I was trying to say about my unique position, having been appointed to the school board, right? So I was appointed to the school board, so I beat out several other people that wanted to be on the school board. And then I had the opportunity to appoint somebody. So I know the characteristics that are going to make a good school board member. And I think maybe I missed really concentrating on that. But I'm talking about the characteristics that make a good school board member. And that's what I was speaking directly to.
And just for the people,
from my experience.
And real quick, man, just for the people, run down that list again. I mean, tell us what you see. Who do you think would be, of the challengers? We're not talking about the incumbents, but of the challengers, who could you see yourself being a positive impact on the CPS school board?
The only potentials that I see are in Ben Lindy, Marlena Brooksfield, and Heather Couch. I don't see, on Pam's side, I only see Pam. So I don't see the other challengers being able to be better than Pam. And that's another thing that I said that I don't know that I emphasized. I don't want somebody if they're not better than Pam. So I don't see that. On our side, on the 6 people side, I said that I see all 3 of them people that I could work with. Definitely the incumbents. I would say stay with the incumbents. I would start there. But if you didn't, I could see Marlena. I talked about Marlena because I give respect to how much she's dug in, does work, and win or lose, Marlena's going to be at the next meeting because she's been at the meetings, all the meetings that I've been at. So I mentioned that about her. Ben Lindy, a friend of mine. I learned about TFA from Ben Lindy. He's a Warner Hills grad. When he came back to Cincinnati and was doing TFA, gave me a call because I was a community leader. This is 8, 9, 10 years ago before I was even on the board, to even let me know what TFA was. I'd never heard of it before. Would he do a good job? I think so. With Marlena, I think so. People say she would have a learning curve. Everybody will. And I encourage her. I say, yeah, look, don't listen to them people. Just keep grinding. And Heather Couch, I said she calls herself a rookie. She does. I was just sitting next to her last night. She calls herself a rookie. But at the same time, I think she's introspective, concerned. She has a mental health background. And she's somebody that could, look, it's a school board. And people are going to elect who they elect. And they're going to have to make it work when they get on the board. And that's fine. I would stick with the incumbents because of the nature of having two appointees over the last 2 years. We just got two new people. And you keep shaking it up, you're not going to have stability on the board. And that's a whole nother concern that I've stayed away from really addressing because it sounds, like it's just something good for the incumbents. But the reality is there hasn't been a time when you had two new appointees, Ozie and Pam, in the last 2 years. I'm 17 months. She's 7 months. And now you're talking about adding new people. So that's why I say you should stick with the incumbents.
Well, Ozie, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you too, Nate. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your work in the community.
Thank you. Take it easy, man. Wow, that was a marathon right there, but I think we got a sense of Brother Ozie and who he is and what he's all about, and you can extrapolate from there. What do you think? I'm long overdue for a break, so let me do what I need to do, and we'll come right back. This is the Nathan Ivey Show, live, local, and vocal. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm Mark Mills. Russia is again messing with the U.S. election, targeting African Americans with disinformation about the campaign. Facebook announced the malicious activity last week, saying that its Instagram app had been used by Russians to stoke African American resentment of former Vice President Joe Biden, while tapping into themes designed to undercut Senators Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. Grammy-winning gospel artist Kirk Franklin says he's boycotting the Gospel Music Association's Dove Awards after they edited out part of his acceptance speech earlier this month, in which he called for prayers after a police shooting in his hometown of Fort Worth, Texas. WWE World Wrestling Entertainment is drawing fire for putting out a new T-shirt for wrestler Jordan Miles, critics say is reminiscent of blackface. It's a logo of Miles' name fashioned into red lips and white teeth. Miles tagged WWE Chief Vince McMahon, calling the T-shirt a slap in the face to every African-American performer, fan, and supporter. WWE says Miles approved the shirt design. And that's your Bloomberg Urban Report. I'm Mark Mills.
This is Bishop Bobby Hilton. I support Janaea Trotter Bratton for District 1 Judge. We must hold candidates to the highest moral standards. Janaea shows integrity and is a Democrat that works hard for all those in our community. Janaea did not and would not sell out her values just to get a seat. Her opponent cut a deal with Republicans to become a magistrate and has continued to be Republican even under the Trump administration, something she fails to mention. But Janaea's opponent never forgets to mention her ties to a soul food restaurant ran decades ago, as if fried chicken will fool us into thinking she will fight for a fair judicial system. It's the same Republican playbook, assuming blacks are dumb enough to ignore facts and be swayed by down-home talk. Let's tell Miss Soul Food there's not enough fish plates in the world to make up for a lack of integrity and experience. Don't be fooled. A vote for the Republican is a vote for Trump's racist agenda. A vote for Janaea is a vote for justice.
Paid for by the Hamilton County Democratic Party.
This is Ron Dumas. Now is the time to vote for the only candidate that's never prosecuted hundreds of our people, who has never testified in a judge's trial, and sadly, that judge was found guilty of that very offense.
Our people died for your right to vote. Please do not let anyone or anything take away your freedom of choice. There is freedom and power in your vote. I still remember the image of Miss Jane Pittman. Please don't let anyone assume that they have your vote just because they hand you a paper or a ticket. We are smart people.
Now is the time to vote for Judge Elisa Murphy, who is fair, just, and the most experienced, who has been on the bench a total of 16 and a half years, who has fought on the front lines with Judge Leslie Isaiah Gaines, who has over 25 years of experience as a defense attorney, Murphy, who is from Evanston, and her family own the Old Southern Restaurant in the West End.
I am honored to follow Judge Leslie Isaiah Gaines, Judge John Burlew, and Judge John Skip West, who all came from this balanced, nonpartisan district. Please vote for your homegrown judge, Judge Elisa Murphy.
Paid for by Murphy for Judge.
This is retired Judge Fanon Rucker. I served District 1 for 12 years, retiring from the bench this September. And when it comes to replacing me on the court, to me, there's one clear choice: Janaea Trotter Bratton. Janaea was born and raised in Cincinnati, started her legal career in the municipal court, and has worked for years as a civil rights lawyer. She's a leader in our community, recognized by the NAACP and by the YWCA as a rising star. As a judge, I know Janaea will make our justice system work for everyone, and she will do it with compassion and fairness. So whether you live in Avondale or Evanston, Walnut Hills, the West End, or Mount Auburn, the people of District 1 need Janaea Trotter Bratton on the bench. She is the only Democrat in this race, and she has my full support. So on November 5th, vote Janaea Trotter Bratton for judge.
Thank you, Judge Rucker. It is an honor to have your endorsement. I ask you to elect me, Janaea Trotter Bratton, as the first Black woman to be elected to this judicial seat.
Paid for by the committee to elect Janaea Trotter Bratton judge.
Good morning, everybody. Let's pop that down a little bit. Thank you. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. 513-873-7134. If you'd like to share your thoughts this morning. And we just got off the phone with Ozie Davis, who's a current member of the school board, Cincinnati School Board. It's a big election. Don't forget, tonight over at Gabriel Place, you've got the last, I believe, the last public forum over at Gabriel Place. Shout out to Brother Lawrence and his group. The fantastic work that they're doing for our community. Check them out today. You can check out all the school board members today. That is today over at Gabriel's Place. And you can ask them questions face to face. The old school way, right? Face to face. Call me back. I'll put you straight on. See here. What do you think about Ozie Davis? Now, listen, I just posted a link to an article in GQ magazine. Now, you know, I've got my suspicions now about GQ magazine after that, the new masculinity cover they did with Pharrell Williams. I ain't happy about it. Let me see here. Yeah, I'll hit you up. I'm hit you up, man. Yeah, but there are opportunities for sure. There are opportunities. Where was I? So I just posted a link from GQ. I want you to read this. Tell me what you make of it. Russian disinformation trolls targeted Black American voters at an alarming rate. Now, this morning I played for you a little bit of a clip. Not a little bit of a clip, but I played for you the urban news feed from Bloomberg Urban Report this morning, right? And I endeavor to do it more because I want to add an element of, you know, news that's centered for our communities, that's national and international. And Bloomberg offers that opportunity. So, but I was a little bit put off by that first article that I heard. You know, usually they got somebody that's breaking down the news. So I want to play this for you one more time. And I want to just give you a couple of flows on it. We can go into after 10 this afternoon. I'm just doing studio work for most of the day. Let me see here. I want to play this for you because I want to let you know that this kind of stuck out to me. So this was the Bloomberg Urban Report feed this morning. Let me see here. Check this out.
With the Bloomberg Urban Report, I'm Mark Mills. Russia is again messing with the U.S. election, targeting African Americans with disinformation about the campaign. Facebook announced the malicious activity last week, saying that its Instagram app had been used by Russians to stoke.
So, okay, let me stop right there. So my ears was like, Like, part of me was like, are you telling me this? Are you trying to give me disinformation by telling me about the disinformation? I don't know. My spider sense went off a little bit. So I went online to see if I could find any sources that would corroborate that story. So if you ever think you may have came across some fake news, all you got to do is just take the headline, if it's salacious or something like that, and Google it. That's all you got to do. And then look at the quality of the news sources that may have similar headlines. So if it's like, Wesley Snipes or Will Smith dies, right? If that comes across your Facebook feed, you might, and you look at it, the source is like ABZTV, QRXWV. If it's something like that, and you're like, what the hell, online? Some crazy source you've never seen before, it might be fake news. All you got to do is Google it. Go to Google itself and put it into the search engine and see if any qualified, other sources are reporting the same thing. Because if they're not, it could be fake news. Now, why am I saying this? Because we're going into fake news territory. Fake news is everywhere. Okay? And I want you to point out examples of fake news as we get ready for this political season so we can all be a little bit more intelligent about it. And so I thought this was fake news from Bloomberg Urban Report. Like, what? Yeah. It didn't sound right. But I did find an article. Russian disinformation trolls targeted Black American voters at an alarming rate. But this is just one article, of course. And it's a very short article. Apparently, Facebook has put out, a warning saying that the Russians are going to try their disinformation campaign again. Now, a heavy part of the 2016 disinformation campaign was targeted at Black people, taking our resentment, our cynicism, our own issues that we have within ourselves, our own divisions, our political divisions, cynicisms that people have, picking up on stuff like, when Hillary Clinton did that thing with the hot sauce, man, on the Breakfast Club, it was everywhere, yo. It was everywhere. The Russians spread that stuff everywhere. They made sure everybody, knew what was going on. They did. I was getting all kind of stuff, man. But, a lot of it I was able to dodge because it was super fake and I could tell off the jump. But now a Senate inquiry has found that these trolls targeted no single group more than African Americans. They used us. This is reported earlier in the month from BBC News. They used a lot of different stuff. And I'm telling you, so you can be hip to the game because we're going into fake news central. And it's going to be memes. It's going to be GIFs. It's going to be all kind of stuff. You're going to start getting invitations to all kinds of different things. Some are more, serious than others. But I want to make sure that, this is on your radar screen. It's going to be on Instagram, right? And social media is going to play a big unknown factor role in 2020. Just like it did in 2016. Every election is going to be more and more integral into how these political types are trying to interface with us. One thing, let me tell you, this is why when I hear these people talking about don't vote, they just sound so idiotic to me. It sounds so immature. It's just an immature stance. If you're a Black man or Black woman and you're not voting, you are a threat to your community. You're a threat. So one thing that the Russians did in 2016 that they found in this Senate inquiry is that the Russians were they were targeting Black folks and telling them, don't vote. What did Obama do? Picking up on natural cynicisms that people might have naturally and just amplifying it like, yeah, you're right to feel that way. Why should you vote? Because, and again, I'm not saying one party favor or another. I'm just saying we know that overwhelmingly Black folks are voting Democrat. And you don't have to feel bad about that, Black folks. You're doing that because you're intelligent. It doesn't mean we can't sharpen and be more sophisticated, but you're doing it because of policy. That's why you're doing it. Don't let these cats shame you. But what they did is they targeted a lot of people and just amplified their cynicism about the whole, you didn't know anybody but Bernie? Oh, they really turned that up. Be aware. Be aware. We going into that season, yo. I want you to be aware of what's going down. The chief target was U.S. Black voters. I don't want to just tell you. I want to make sure that's the distinction here. It's not that Black folks were targeted too. We were the primary focus of the Russian targeting. It says a lot about us. It really does. I mean, that just says how fragmented we really are. That a foreign power can see how effed up our shit is from 2,000-3,000 miles away. Just telling you. And they used it against us, and that's why we got Trump. They use it against us. They use what we naturally feel. These damn Democrats ain't did a damn thing. I'm not arguing that they have done enough. I'm just saying that's the best game to use on somebody. You just push them in a direction they already feel like they going in. That's the best game ever. That is the best game ever, man. And the Russians used it to perfection, and it produced Trump. It produced Trump. Why? For a lot of reasons, man. For a lot of reasons. Good morning. 513-873-7134. Again, the Russians could see how disfragmented, how much lack of unity that we really have from way the hell over there. Because I mean, look, if you're trying to run some campaign, you want to attack what you think is going to be a weak link. Boom. Just by the mere fact that the Russians targeted black folks just goes to show you. Now, it's a couple ways of looking at it. You can look at it like, oh, that just goes to show you that, black folks don't have their ish together and there's no unity, that the Russians could just play us like that digitally. We don't have enough outlets to really give us real information or whatever. All I'm saying is, I mean, that's not a good look. They didn't target any other group. They targeted a lot of groups, but they specifically targeted, because white folks, y'all was getting y'all propaganda too from the Russians. Conservatives was getting it too. But they targeted black people in particular, black voters. And it worked, ladies and gentlemen. It worked. So, and they all got away with it. Putin and Trump laugh about it. So what makes you think they're not going to try to do it again? Wouldn't you? I mean, if you got it off once, you might get it. African-American community voters were discouraged from voting and from supporting Hillary Clinton. More than 66% of Facebook advertisements posted by the Russian troll farm contained a term related to race. And this was all targeted to harm Hillary Clinton's campaign and support Donald Trump. Like I said, I mean, we talked about it live in real time. I remarked on the air how all of a sudden this clown, Donald Trump, was getting major, all kind of folks was doing testimonials and saying great things about him online. I'm like, what the hell? Trolls. You might have some trolls on your Facebook page right now. You could have some trolls on your Facebook page right now, interacting with you, getting you all riled up. Never know. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mr. Griffin. This is Cincy. I'm calling.
Hold on. I'm not sure. Hold on 1 second here. Hey, Drop, sorry about that, man. Hold on, let me get Drop back on the phone here. All right. Hold on 1 second, Chavez, hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. Hold on 1 second here. Yeah, we got him. That's Drop right. It's all good. It's all good, man. Hold on. Let me get Drop on. And I think we Gucci, man. What up, Drop? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
One quick thing on the Ozie Davis interview.
Uh-oh.
It's just one thing, Nate. He was appointed to the seat.
True.
And he somehow overlooks the deadline to get the write-in signatures. It just seems to me, Nate, that someone went to him and persuaded him not to run. And maybe
well, why not just say, if that was the case and that was his rationale, then why not just don't run rather than create some kind of crisis?
Because if you have a future in politics, you don't want to have too many L's on your record. Okay? Because it's clear he's just not ready yet to run a campaign. I mean, it's very, Nate, you know, it's very difficult to run a campaign. Okay? So obviously he's just not ready yet. Maybe the next cycle he'll probably be ready. But
he's been doing the job for 17 months.
Yes, 17 months is not even a full term. Right?
So you're saying you're going to balance, and even though you can't vote in the district, just put it out there, but you're going to say
right.
The way you look at it is
observer.
You're outside observer.
Yeah.
So the way you're looking at it is the fact that he didn't get those signatures in whenever the deadline is
right.
enough to say that you're not qualified to be on the school board.
No, because the whole signature thing came up with your last candidate that you had on, and when I heard it then, I said, okay, maybe something happened. But then when he came on this morning and I heard him speak and I heard about how he was appointed and all these different things, that is what concluded me to believe that someone got to him and told him, you're not ready yet. There are other people that are ready. You're safe on your seat, in your seat, okay? And it's better to just, go away than to get an L on your record, because you can always come back. And he could come up with any stories. Some operative or a writer can come up with a story to why he didn't get the signatures in to validate why he wasn't on the ballot. Because he's not going to get in through write-ins. He's just, he's got a catchy name, but I'm just saying, Nate, from your interview and the other things that were mentioned by the previous candidate, it just sounds like he's just not ready yet. That's all. But, Mr. Ivey, the reason I called is the subject of your show today about the Russian hacking of African Americans. Now, I detected your suspicion in this whole story. And I'm telling you, Nate, my observation is the Democrats' internal polling is starting to show that they're losing the African-American vote. They're losing the Hispanic vote. Because if you look at some of the things that have been happening in Washington in the past week, it's not looking good for the Democrats, Nate. I mean, they still have over, I think they have 18 or 19 candidates still in the race, but we only hear about 6 of them. So it's still 10 other Democrats still out there running a race, but all we hear about is what's going on in Washington, D.C. with Donald Trump and his ability to control the news cycle, because the Democrats can't compete with him, Nate. So when you had that story as your headline with almost a year to go before the election, I mean, Nate, I understand your suspicion, Nate. This is not good for the Democrats. So am I agreeing with you, or are you agreeing with me?
I'm just dealing with the facts as they are. I mean, we end up agreeing, right, then, that's an unintended consequence.
Exactly.
So you're
and
saying
that's why I like the show.
You're saying that this is, you think it's a fake. Now I'm on Yahoo News. Russian disinformation trolls targeted Black American voters at an alarming rate.
Right.
By Luke Darby. Let me look at the other person. Who is this at GQ? Here's BBC News. This is, they was doing stuff like, here it is, Black Matters. Never forget Eric Gardner. Like I said, It wasn't all specifically about that election. It was about Black Lives Matter. It was about things that had been happening and where there were resentments.
Right.
And it was just trying to get the emotions up, man, appeal to people, and it worked. You never talk about the role that the Russians did in helping your guy Trump get in the White House. You never want to talk about that, huh?
But Nate, I'm talking about it right now, okay? Because again, like I said, in reference to 2016, nobody thought Trump was going to win, Nate. And as these events start to unfold in Washington, we have a Inspector General report coming out about the FISA warrants. We have the Attorney General starting a criminal investigation into the origins of the Mueller investigation. Nancy Pelosi now all of a sudden decides to have an official impeachment vote on Thursday. Okay. Then again, you had Lindsey Graham had 50 of 53 senators sign a resolution telling Nancy Pelosi, if you send impeachment articles to the Senate, he's going to be acquitted. So all I'm telling you, Nate, with a year to go, it's a lot of things that are starting to fall out into place to where the Democrats' internal polling, their fundraising numbers are starting to give them an indication.
You're going to try to talk this into existence. You're going to try to talk this into existence. It'll be interesting to see if you can. I don't think you can. I see things much differently.
I know, but see, Nate, is the glass half empty or is it half full? It just depends on how you see it or how thirsty you are. So the way I see it from a Republican side, okay, I'm not that thirsty because I'm getting wins left and right on the Republican side. But the Democrats, who are very thirsty and have been very thirsty since 2016, they're going to see that glass as half empty. So they're starting to worry now, Nate, because think about it, Nate. Why would she have the vote on Thursday just 4 or 5 days after Lindsey Graham has the vote that he had in the Senate? What does that tell you, Nate? I mean, come on, give me some political analysis. You don't have to agree with me, but it's there, Nate.
We'll see.
All these signs.
We'll see.
Okay, all right, we'll see. And then before I go, as long as Joe Biden is in the race, Barack Obama is going to continue to have pressure put on him to speak on what happened when him and his vice president were in charge during the entire Russia involvement in the United States election. Barack Obama was the president at the time of the so-called cheating of Donald Trump from the Russians. So on that note, drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. Peace.
Appreciate the flows, man. We'll go ahead and unrack them. That propaganda. We will decipher the propaganda. Again, I'll throw it out there. It is what it is. Remember, you heard it here first. So what do you think about the interview with Brother Ozie Davis, who cannot vote, but he can give his opinion? I mean, we are people that come together united in one thing. We all have opinions. And that was his observation. And I want to get your thoughts. What do you think? See here. Okay, sorry about that. I had to send a message. Cincy Tigers, right? So vote for Ozie on the strength, huh? Got it. I would never say that. No. What I would say is you got to vote him on the strength of how he articulated himself. The job you think he's done so far. We shall see. Some folk, good morning. I'm going way back here, way back. Key C's in the house. Good morning to you. If we use those numbers, 200 out of 476 voters to calculate the percentage of purge/invalid voters is 42% of that small sampling. That is cause for concern. I'm going way back. Nope, don't settle, but I appreciate a man who is from the community and proven to care about our kids. We have to have folks like that on our school board. How did Ozie feel about the stadium? See here. Follow the money. I'm trying to catch up here. I'm going way back. Of course, I can't get everything in at this point. It's over 400 messages this morning. As you can tell, that municipal court judge race is heating up. Janaea called in this morning and set the record straight. She said it's not true. She says it's not true. And I'm going to reach out to Alicia Murphy and see if perhaps she will not call back in and have that conversation. Perhaps we can get her and Janaea on the phone to talk it out. That would be interesting. I'd be down with that. Drop is a Russian troll. I can barely stand him. Drop might be a Russian troll. He might. Truth sounds like hate to those that hate truth. Somebody writes hater. Let's see. Fame writes Fox, I stopped by your shop yesterday looking for... Okay. Let's see here. Drop right. Mike Davis writes, you are Drop, the real Black Russia. The real Black Russia. That's funny. I get it. That is hilarious. So we got Black Russia and the real Black Russia. I can get down with it. Angela doesn't like the conversation. She says surface-ish. Oh, she's so critical. You're all critical now, Angela. I like the old Angela better. This new Angela, I mean, I guess I have to deal with it, but... Fast Pitch writes, these commercials from Trotter, Bratton, and Murphy, fish place, homegrown soul food. Right. Interesting. TNT writes, the National Urban League did a report on Russian targeting on African-American state of Black America. Thank you, TNT. I don't know why people think this is a small matter. This is a huge matter because the one thing I can say about everybody in here is that we might disagree with a bunch of stuff, but the kind of people that listen to this show that I've come to understand are the kind of people over the years are the kind of people that are in the news. They are aware of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They're listening to various mediums, right? They are aware. They vote. Not just vote, but they might interact. You know, they might get civically engaged, right? And those kind of people need to know what's going on. I want to let you know what's about to happen. Much like we did between 2016, we had a series of conversations. I'm just sharing with you information that's on my radar screen. This might not be top of mind, but what I offer to you is then share what's top of mind on your mind. The show's always been interactive. All you gotta do is drop a link or drop it to the Facebook page or send me a DM and I'll see it. In that order, it's probably better. You know what I'm saying? And we can talk about whatever's relevant. So just keep your eyes open, man. Keep your eyes open as we get closer. It's going to start now. It's going to start now as we go into November. You know what I'm saying? We are heading into highly politically charged waters. This is political territory. And people are going to be trying to send you all kinds of messages. So get ready for it. Get ready. But again, I'm speaking to the choir. I'm speaking to the choppers, man. You already know. You already know. Who knows better than us? You already know. If I missed your call, please call me back. Yeah, if I missed your call, please call me back. Why wouldn't Russia target us? And Facebook is on it all. Wait. Let me bug this up. Why wouldn't Russia target us? And Facebook is in on it also. And so are both sides of the racist political regime. You're absolutely right about that, Bunky. 100%. You're 100% correct. So we got to keep our eyes open. You got to keep our eyes open. Just be aware. See, the Russians know the distrust many blacks have with this country. All you have to do is throw out a conspiracy theory and you'll have many blacks jumping on board. Right. Again, here's what I've heard. I've heard, and I've seen this out in the news, that ADOS may be being backed by, some non-U.S. based sources, let's say Russians. Have you heard this, Spirit? All you got to do is Google it. Go on YouTube. You'll see it. There's people now, the whisper among some circles now is that ADOS basically was either co-opted by, in terms of funding, and or was always funded by some Russian, figures, entities. I don't know if that's true or not. You're talking about nasty rumors. You're right. That's a theory. That's a conspiracy theory right now. That's the most relevant one right now. Have you heard this, Mike? And I don't know. I don't know Yvette Carnell like that. I interviewed her a couple times. I think she speaks her mind. She went up against Farrakhan. Yeah, she went up against Farrakhan. So, like, for real. Like, she was receiving phone calls. I mean, don't get it twisted. It's not a game in this crazy world we live in. And she did it, so I give her props. ADOS is a growing movement. Just got started. We'll see what happens next year and the years after that. We shall see. Because the reparations conversation is still there, but it's not like a red hot conversation like it was previous, like it was like earlier in the year. It's kind of like still relevant. You can bring it up in a debate and people will answer the question and all, take it seriously. But what's the going rate for a Russian troll? I don't know. Beware. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. How are you doing today?
Hey, pleasant sounding black man. I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Well, to be redundant, I'm pleasant, but you forgot non-threatening as well.
Well, so did you.
No, you said that. You said.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Pleasant sounding. Yeah, but that was something you added later. I just want to say pleasant, non-threatening. We'll put it into. There it is.
Well, anyway, I'm calling to you from beautiful Blue Ash, Ohio.
Blue Ash.
Yeah. Chilling with my Jew bird.
Could you define Jew bird, please?
Yeah, my female companion of Yiddish descent.
Got it.
Jew bird. Yeah. Drop's call is very interesting to me because that was a theory that I had not contemplated myself regarding Mr. Davis and somebody possibly telling him not to run. Because I was going at him pretty good in another group, in a Facebook group before I deleted it. Like, hey, don't vote for this guy. If he don't got the decency to get the signatures, he don't want to be a part of the thing. Then, he hit me like, well, why you saying that, blah, 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 come to my office and talk to me. Let's, I want to see what kind of issues you got so I can iron them out with you. I'm like, okay. So I go over there on Burn It. We had a long talk, and he told me why he was unable to get the signatures. He was very specific, though. He didn't mention it on here, but I'm not going to say anything, but he was very specific. And so when Drop said that, it kind of made me wonder, is that a possibility? That somebody kind of cornered him and said, nah, don't do it. Don't run, but just pretend like you want to, like you forgot. Because, like, he named names.
Yeah, but he named names in terms of what?
Why he was unable to get signatures.
Names of his staffers or?
Yes, he was very specific.
So his staffers effed up?
I guess, but he named names.
Oh, my God. Can you just put it out there, man? I'm trying to stitch this together. No? Okay, I appreciate
it. He came on your show to do a public interview. We had a private conversation.
Okay, then why you tell us about it?
Because his tone changed from being specific to, speaking in sweeping generalities on the radio. And that's why I was just like kind of confused, like, bro, what's up? So I just want to say that, that Drop, that was a very interesting point that I thought he made. That's why I enjoy Drop and his rhetoric.
But what makes more sense? Why do that to yourself then? If somebody comes to him, Ozie Davis, and say, look, don't run. Just don't run.
I'm not.
Just say,
I'm not
look, I
politically
did what I
inclined.
want to
That's
do.
not my game. That's not my game. Running for office. I don't know
but what's
how
the
they think.
value in it, though? I don't understand the value. Like, what does Ozie Davis get out of coming up with some kind of rules that ultimately makes him look bad instead of just stepping down? It doesn't make it. The reason why it never jumped in your head is because Drop is on some dumb ish. That's why. It don't make no damn sense.
That man wakes up 3 hours early to listen to your show, and for you to call a fan to be on some dumb ish, you're
on some
that.
dumb ish. What are you talking about, man? That ain't nothing.
And I see, I'm local. I could come see you. Your studio is across the street from my people and near where I live, so I can come see you. But so you can call me all the names you want, but don't insult that man. He's good people. Drop is. You know what I'm saying?
You should make that sound when you get off the air now.
What's that?
The sound of you kissing Drop's ass?
Oh, well, I was kissing a little ass after I ate these lox and bagels this morning too, but that's something else. Listen, I'm not impressed with any of your school board candidates.
Good turn.
I'm really not. I mean, of the ones that I've heard on your show, I'm just like, our kids are in trouble. Our kids, and Chris, you know Steve Meagerly? You know Steve Meagerly? You know who's taking credit for the him posting a black family?
Who?
A black woman.
Who?
His campaign manager.
Oh, hell no. No, hell no. Where is this on Twitter?
No. Well, I lightweight know her personally. Like, I've met her a couple times. She's friends with the Max.
Oh, boy.
Braxton, my brother. She's friends with the brethren. Her Twitter handle is at these letters. CJD Jam.
Jam?
Yeah, CJD Jam. JAM.
Okay. You talking about Crystal? I know Crystal.
Yep. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why, she was like going off on her podcast about it. I'm like, what are you tripping on? Like, why are you taking credit for, I just got some B-roll B-roll pictures and blah, blah, blah. People, I was like, oh, that was kind of a big mistake, Crystal, that you made there. That is kind of.
Oh, that what she said? Oh, my God. Crystal might be listening right now.
She probably is. And I'm just like, I kind of left it alone. Like, but I was just like, But, she was sounding off. Go listen to her podcast from last week. She went off. She cussing. Like, y'all better quit fucking with me. I used to date a D-boy. Do you know who that is? Blah, blah, blah. She was going the fuck off.
That is crazy.
Yeah, you gotta peep her podcast from last week. It was wild.
Yeah, I'm hip to the podcast.
I'm like, oh my God, Crystal, you wilding on that one. But but she stepped out to the front and took advantage for him. I mean, took blame for it, which I kind of, I don't know her like that to be able to, advise her like that. But I was just kind of like, I don't know if I'll be taking these bullets for this white dude. You being a black female like that.
Well, she doing her thing.
Right. She's doing her thing.
You working with Steve?
She found I rock with her. Yeah, she found I rock with her. That's why I was just like, but every now and then, your fam do something, and you just kind of like, get one of those cringe moments like, really? You know what I mean? It was just kind of one of those type deals. So,
right.
All of your school board candidates, I'm just not feeling them. I think our kids are in danger for the next cycle of elections. We need really better candidates. And not only do we need better candidates, we need more people who don't seem to have a foreign interest outside of the school district. I mean, I'll give it to Ozie. He does appear to be a Yowman type, appointed to the board. But I mean, this lack of signatures, that's telling, and it tells you nothing good. I mean, let's be frank. Community member or not, I'm reading the comments. People seem to like the guy. The people that know him, they rock with him heavy. Like I said, he called me out to his office. We had a talk. I never spoke personally with a political candidate that I wasn't interviewing for a publication. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, I respect that. But at the end of the day, not getting the signatures, the required signatures, is very telling. I think you'll agree with that.
I agree. It is telling. It
Yes.
should be a factor. And, people should, take that. And like I said, his experience, what he said he's done, what he's actually done, what he said he's going to do and factor it all the way in.
Right. So,
because the first thing I thought about it was, he being somebody trying to sabotage him. That was the first thought I thought. First thought I thought was, damn, somebody trying to sabotage that brother.
Right. Right. So, I'm not amused, thrilled, or excited about any of these people. Maybe we need to have however many that the seats are up. Maybe we need to have that many appointees until the next cycle. Like, we got to get a better crop. I mean, because all our school board candidates are like the Democratic presidential candidates. None of y'all none of y'all feeling me. I ain't feeling none of y'all. And this ain't going to work with the current, especially the one you haven't had, Mike Warowski. He's the worst one out of all of them, if you ask me.
The worst one?
Oh yeah, he clearly has other business interests on the horizon. He's not about the children. He's really not. I watch his Twitter feed. Apparently he hasn't blocked me. He's probably muted me because he never replies to anything I say, and I don't go at him all wicked and crazy. Just answering his stuff, and it's just like, I ain't feeling this cat. I'm not feeling. I didn't hear Eve Bolton. Was she on your show?
Not yet. Soon.
Okay, I haven't heard her yet. And I haven't heard, if there's any other black females, I haven't heard them on there.
Yeah, Carolyn Jones and Pam Bowers.
Were they on your show?
Heather Couch. No, none of them have been on the show yet.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I haven't heard anybody that I would even come close to recommending. It's not even hate. It's just being purely objective. I don't feel y'all, kind of like the reason why the guy from Mason got to go. Thermodynamics, your body's letting off heat, but I ain't feeling you.
Well, think about this. Currently, there's only one black male that's on the school board. That's Ozie Davis.
I get that.
So
but being black sometimes ain't good enough.
It's not, especially when you've got a suitable replacement. Is Gary Favors a suitable replacement for the black community other than Ozie Davis?
I don't know.
Now, and again, it's not even fair to put it that way because they're running two different races. But I'm just saying, from that perspective, if you want to have one black male, you got more white males on the school board right now than black males.
But this ain't the punk ass Supreme Court either. We can have more than one black male on the school board.
Right, but if Ozie is not reelected, the chances of there being a black male on the school board and next go down considerably. Because the only other chance is Gary Favors, who's going against Pam Bowers, who is the incumbent. So this Ozie Davis write-in thing is not a game. Not to say you're trivializing it at all. This is a very serious matter. Because we talk about representation, on the school board.
Right. I personally believe the school board should represent the district. If Cincinnati Public Schools has 70% black kids, 60%, whatever?
I believe 70.
The school board should be 70% black. And really people that live, you have to live in the district. So,
I think I like that idea for a lot of reasons, but that's not the reality. The reality is that if Ozie Davis is not reelected, and I'm not giving him any campaign, I'm just giving people the understanding of what we're talking about here. Because somebody's in here saying, look, he didn't get enough signatures, but is he for the people? That's what really matters.
I tend to think he is, especially based on where his office was.
Okay. So he for the
people.
You know what I'm
saying? Like his office is like right in the middle of like one of the biggest open air drug markets in the city. Let's keep it a buck. Everybody knows that if you know where it is, you know what I'm talking about. You go out and make one left out of his office and you can get as much weed as you want. Right there on the street. I would like to say he's about the people.
Okay, so he's about the people. So do we think that the strength of his conviction for the people is stronger than whatever blunder that happened and his ability to effectively put all these good feelings for the people in place? That's what it comes down to. Are you going to hold this against him or not when it comes to Ozie?
Well, I mean, I'm personally not. Like I said, I had the privilege of speaking to him personally. He's a very affable guy, nice, friendly, warm. I got all that from him. But does all that supersede being potentially incompetent?
Is he effective? That's what it should come down to. All the incumbents.
Is he effective? Yeah, I mean, he listed all his accomplishments. Okay, I rock with him. But I'm not saying don't. He's the only one I'm not saying don't vote for. I'm just not sold on him yet.
Right. See, my thing is he said something that's real, and that is it took me all these months to kind of figure out what the job is. That's the reality of anybody new. Ben Lindy, Marlena, Favors.
But that's the problem with the schools. That's the microcosm of the problem of the schools in and of itself. Okay, everybody's learning on the job with black kids.
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
That's the factual way of looking at it.
But if Ozie Davis
how
is reelected,
dare you say he would not say that on Westchester School Board, Sycamore School Board,
here's the point I'm trying
Mason
to say.
School Board.
Here's the point I'm trying to say is that whoever is elected is going to go through a learning curve. Don't you agree with that?
Learning curve as in what?
Learning curve is as in how to be a Cincinnati school board member, how to get information, what you need to do.
Is learning to be a school board member also a part of, at times being punked politically?
Okay, let me do it another way. What I'm trying to say with Ozie Davis is that if he's reelected, he's already 17 months into the learning curve. That's something that people should factor in. If you somebody else you put on there, they're gonna be 17 months behind him. That's one way of looking at it.
I mean, yeah, it's like it's like all your other candidates were, I don't know, a Yugo, and he's the 1974 Ford Escort. The Yugo was so bad that it killed a country. There's no Yugoslavia anymore. That car was so bad it killed a country. But that 1974 Escort, it's a Ford, it's American, but it's, kind of old enough to have grandkids at this point. Do you trust it? That's all I'm saying. He might be the best candidate out of the ones you've had so far, but I'm still not sold on everybody.
And I'm not trying to sell you. I'm not trying to sell you, man. I mean, your opinion is your opinion. But I do appreciate it.
Oh, no doubt. And you know what it is. I will holler at you at the next moon.
Yeah, you got to do that sound. Sound of you kissing Drop's ass this morning by validating that dumb ish she was saying. Please don't do that. Please let me see. I'm getting a message right here. What's going on? Yes. Yes, Terrence. If you're listening. Okay, currently school board members, you got Eve Bolton, Melanie Bates, Mike Morosky, Carolyn Jones, Ozie Davis, Pamela Bowers, and Ryan Messer. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members of the current makeup. 3 of them are African American, 2 females, 1 male. That male is Ozie Davis. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. Don't know. Somebody mentioned, is that Don Grady? Was that Lawrence? That's funny. I got a funny Don Grady story. Let's see. Let me see here. Trump's impeachment will be perfect. The best impeachment ever. Millions and millions of people will say so. Hear him tell it right. Right. He had the best impeachment ever. There's nothing like when the president gets on a roll. He's feeling himself about something that ultimately he shouldn't be taking credit for. Thumping his chest like he was leading the raid. Like he was Reynolds. You're not Reynolds. Everybody remembers the Reynolds story, right? Danita Pettis. Is he captain now? Is he captain? I hope so. That'd be dope. She said, me and Reynolds are through the door first. I will never forget that. And your ass is sitting back here at the district. It's always a Reynolds, man. Always. In every cop movie. It's real too, huh? It's real. Good morning. Any residual thoughts on Ozie Davis? Are you surprised Mr. Migley has a black campaign manager? No, really. I mean, listen, I have met Crystal. I think she is super cool. I don't have any quarrel with her. She's doing her thing and helping out these campaigns. And I think that's a great thing. I am aware of her podcast. I have heard it before. I didn't hear that particular one. That's hilarious. So she said, that it was stock photos. That's just not good. It's not good. CPS School Board is a dummy board ran by a much larger system that operates behind the scenes. Could be, could not be. Orange Gangster represent. Follow the money. Check the campaign funding ledgers. That's Angela. Angela, have you done this already? Or do you have something to share? Or you just pop a link there. That's all you got to do. Nathan, can you play Pettis? Can I play? I don't have it in my files anymore. I used to keep it, but I felt like I just played it out, so I stopped playing it. Mia Reynolds is through the door first. Mason Muller writes, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. It's hilarious. Angela's writes, for the third time, how many or have received questionable funding? You are not the first person to ask me that question, Angela. And there's a process to get that. If you have already gone through the process, can you summarize it real quick? But I agree with you. You're right. I mean, we should look at who has received questionable funding. And those documents are available. They're not available online, though, that I am aware of. Now, if it's available online somewhere, I was just told just recently, then please let me know. All right, we're getting a phone call here. Not sure who this is. We'll see together. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Nathan Ivy, good morning. This is Sister Victoria.
Hey, Sister V, what's going on? How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I don't get to call in too often. But I think behind Ozie Davis's interview, I just wanted to say a few things on something that was behind my line of questioning about the LSDMCs. And I put a comment in there that where you find a dysfunctional LSDMC, that's where you find a failing school. And I do think that they put too much power in the hands of those LSDMCs. So, for example, if you have a parent that's having a problem, most of the time that's who they're directed to. And so a lot of people think that the school board is overseeing a lot of these things. But they are very dependent, as he indicated, they are very dependent on these LSDMCs to be functional. But if I'm on an LSDMC that consists of just community members, not a lot of business people, that one may not be as available, have resources available to them as, say, maybe a Wanted Hills or SCPA, who will have, corporate executives, members of their boards and things sitting on these LSDMCs. Do you see how these things can be distorted?
Oh, absolutely.
Where one fails and the other succeeds. And so a lot of times when things happen and people say, well, how come the school board didn't know it? Well, because a lot of times it's contained inside the school. Okay? And that's where my line of questioning was with respect to those LSDMCs. And they are definitely, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're definitely rules, regulations around them and reporting and communicating between the school board and those LSDMCs. That is serious. And that needs to seriously be tightened up. Because a lot of times you don't hear about stuff just like in the case of Gabriel Tate. People saying, how did all that happen all this time and nobody saw it? It's not that anybody saw it. The school board, I suspect, really wasn't even aware until it got as bad as it got. So you have to start looking at what is going on inside these schools individually. I think that because we're trying too hard to give each of these schools their own individual personality, I feel that that's part of why some are failing and others are succeeding. And that has to change. That mindset has to change. It's okay for a school to have its own individual concept of growth, but it's not okay when the oversight is not there. I think there's too much that is put into these LSDMCs, and it causes it to be lopsided. And for me, that was one of the things, like I said, when I was running back in 2013, it was something I felt strongly needed to be looked into. And that communication has to be tightened up. I just feel like it's very loose. The other thing I did like what he was talking about is, and that's something I was saying, is that you have to peel back the onion and look at that money that is coming through the school, Cincinnati public schools system. You've got to take a look at that money. You've got to look at the contracts that they have, who they're working with, and really who pulls the strings. And it's interesting to me, I think that people really didn't see the school board as being this big, giant entity, in as much as we should pay attention to the commissioners, judges, and the city council and the mayor. You definitely need to pay attention to these school boards, and I don't think people got it, because shortly after, I believe when the Stargell Stadium came up and the land that the school board owned and all that, I really don't think there were a lot of people that were really up on how important it is for to have people who are community-minded to be on that school board that will look out for the community. I'll give you an example. When I was running, there were two candidates, and I shall not even say their names. People need to think back then. The Cincinnati Business Council put a tremendous amount of money behind them and began running commercials for them. Most school board members don't have to raise a whole lot of money to run their campaigns. But visibility, yes, that's key. Most cannot raise enough money to put commercials on TV. But when I was running, there was two candidates that managed to get a commercial that featured both of them, and that money came from, they were endorsed by the Enquirer, but the money came from the Downtown Business District or the Cincinnati Business Council. And so you have to start looking at who's putting money behind them and why. Why the endorsement? And it goes right back to those contracts. And so if you have a community-minded person such as Ozie on there, all I'm saying is that, and as well as Lannis, because like I said, Lannis was very bothered about how that whole thing went down. But as he was getting on there, that was kind of in motion. And so why, I asked the question then, why didn't, when something like that came across their desk, the first thing that the school board should have done is had a community meeting to say this is in the pipeline. And we want to hear from you all because it's going to affect you all and our children that live in this particular area. That didn't happen. And in fact, most of them were very quiet. And we found out about it on the news. And that's when calls start going to the board to say, well, wait a minute, what's going on? So my point is, I don't want people to be, Ozie is a down brother, speaks plain English, not trying to put on fronts or anything like that. And whether he gets on the school board or not, it's not going to stop him from doing what he's been doing. That's just been his passion. And so I'm willing to give him a chance, and I would hope others would attempt to, at least give him a chance as well. Because all too often we get tied up in these degrees, and I can tell you, everybody that has huge degrees behind their names, take a look around and see if what these degrees that they have and being in these positions, you ask yourself, has it been working for all of us? And so I just wanted to put that out there because I wanted people to understand, I guess, the reason why I kept pushing to bring that out, the LSDMCs. And he did touch on it, and then I was glad to hear him say that, things could be tightened up or a little bit better. Because most of your school board candidates, they will sit there and tell you, these things are working and it's great, and it's not. There's some real problems there that really need to be addressed. So I just wanted to put that out there for people to, at least consider some of the things that they did here today. And I hope hope that we get some good people on there. And again, write in Ozie Davis, people can, and that's a hard feat in and of itself, because we're sort of, we're kind of programmed to take the literature that people are handing out and just go straight down the slot. But this is going to require people to do something different. And so I hope that helps. I'm definitely going to be working some of the communities that I have some pull in and try to make this happen as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. But at the end of the day, we got to go vote, but let's be some informed voters. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing these one-on-one interviews like you're doing, because you're not cutting anybody any slack on it. So and it really does help give us a good insight as to who these folks really are. I don't mind having a brother from around the way on the board myself. So I'm just saying. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it.
Talk to you soon.
Yep, take it easy. That's Sister V. She got the kind of voice I can listen to all day. Just sit back and just listen. Let me see here. Pardon me. Okay, hold on. All right, great. Okay. Looks like we're going to have, looks like Michelle Dillingham might give us a call tomorrow. Says she's got some information she wants to share with us about the school board members. So that'll be tomorrow. But for now, let's go back to the phone. We got Sister Iris on the line. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, dear brother. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm trying to be as black and proud as I can. So listen, I too want to call in, and you asked what do we think about the interview with Ozie Davis. So let me be completely honest. I've heard Ozie speak much more eloquently and much more clearly about his position on the school board and why he wanted to run. That's the reason why I supported him in taking the seat. This is why the reason I support him today. And one of the things that I wanted just to underscore that Sister V said is that it is about passion in people. Some people can get a job in teaching and have 55,000 degrees, but don't have the passion or the skill set to work with children, parents, administrations, and all other things that come with being in that particular position. Ozie did way before he decided to run for school board, and that's what makes him so likable in this particular position. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to withstand what you have to absorb in order to try to make changes in the system. And let me just speak to that, because of one who spent the last 18 and a half years trying to impact the system to do exactly what it's supposed to do, right? Doesn't mean it's right for everybody, but to do exactly what it's supposed to do when you're trying to change that, impact that for your particular people, it's hard. It's extremely hard when you're going up against a system. And then you have to work with people inside that system, that very humongous system that believes in the system. And then you have to work with people who doesn't believe in the system but don't believe in themselves that they can help you fix that system. And that's what I kind of hear. Ozie can only do what we instruct him to do and what we assist and help him to do. Let me give you an example. One day I was riding through Avondale because I too was born and raised in Avondale. And I was going to a phone store for my niece to get her phone. She was very ill. This is before she died. And I saw a bunch of kids standing at the Lincoln statue, and I saw a bunch of police. I immediately called Ozie. I didn't even know what was going on. I needed to call Ozie to ask, one, where was he? Two, who were the children at the statue? And three, I was on my way, right? So I needed assistance because I no longer lived in Avondale, but I needed to touch base with somebody in Avondale who I knew would probably know more than one child that was standing at that statue. And it was roughly around 15. But they were surrounded by police. The police are my deal. The babies, I needed to know who knew them so they could know me, and I was coming to assist them. I called Ozie. He happened to be at the Freedom Center with some more kids. He said, "Sis, look for the tall brother, the young brother with the fro." And when I said to him so that I could get cohesion from the group so that I could protect them, the first thing he said to me was, "Mama Iris, I know you are Ozie already introduced us. What do you need me to do?" I asked him to please calm down the crowd so I could handle the police. because that's my job, was to protect them from the police. And that's what the young baby did. This is who I know. When I have issues about a child in the school or a principal's not doing something or the LSDMC or the PTA or the PTO, because there's multiple systems. And when I have an issue with different high schools performing in a different way and the low scorecards and a child can't get a calculus teacher. So while we're talking about calculators, we don't have teachers in all areas that can do all things. I call Ozie because I have access to Ozie. And more often than not, if I don't get an answer, just let me work on that and I'll get back to you. So part of our problem is even having access to the people who are in the system so that they can hear what your frustrations, concerns, or whatever you're happy with. But at least I can say that I got access because I can call him. I could probably call other people, but I need to hear an honest answer. And that's what you heard from Ozie today. When you ask him that very hard question, because he and I both had that conversation about the signatures, right? I'm not a great signature gatherer. And he asked me, but I'm not that girl. I lose papers. I just don't keep up with stuff. I know that I'm not her. But I can get out here and I can influence other people and I can deliver your message and also helping to sharpen your iron as well, where you may be a deficit at, right? He is a huge proponent of our summer math program. Huge proponent of our unofficial juvenile court in Madisonville. These are the things that we need to know, that people support what you're doing so that you can understand and maybe or maybe not support what they're doing, but you have access to them. You have the honesty in them. You have commitment and integrity. And that's who Ozie is. And sometimes our politics won't be clear because we got to navigate the waters of the non-African Americans and the African Americans. We got to navigate the waters of the system and the real system and the people who's running the system. So there's a lot to navigate in that system. And I think what you did do today was allow a very confusing system, because it's confusing how it's funded, how it's ran, the structure of the board versus the administration. What do the principals do? LSDMCs, PTO, PTAs, all these groups. What's the business committee's connection to CPS? All of these moving nodes that we expect for one person to have every answer. When Attorney Bailey, and she's one of my favorite, asked the question, you don't have a plan. The criminal justice system doesn't work for Black people. The data is clear. So with all the wonderful attorneys that we have, and I'm surrounded by a bunch of them, why isn't that system more fairer for people who have been more impacted by in a very negative way? So I don't know any system that's running perfectly or well for us. So I'm saying in all of that is to please listen to what the man had to say. Listen to what he has done. Look at his record, and he does have a law degree. So he is my hood attorney. So when I need to understand legal language, I call him, and ask him to break it down like I'm a third grader. What does this mean? When we wrote the collaborative, Ozie, I need you to read it. When the refresh was written, Ozie, I need you to read all of these reports so that you can regurgitate this legal language to the community so that the community can understand. And that ain't even nowhere near scratching the surface on our relationship, because typically when we're talking about resolving an issue. He called me one day. I just happened to be in Avondale again. I think I was leaving Zola's house. Where you at, sis? I'm right by the statue. There's some kids up here fighting. I'm pulling in right now. We broke up a huge ass fight in Avondale, Ozie and I, and he knew all the babies. And so when the police showed up, it was like, all right, we just want everybody to move on because we are standing there. And there's nothing else that's going to occur because we're there to protect the babies and do what we do. So I'm simply saying to the very critical thinkers in the chop shop, Ozie can only do what we help him to do, what we want to have done, and what we're willing to do with him. He cannot do it alone. So it's not about just him. It's about us too, Nathan. It's about what is it that we want to change and how are we going to help impact that change. It can't be placed on one person. It can't even be placed on the school board. They changed the rules for the school board meetings because of people like Sister Victoria and Iris Roller. Because when the facility master plan was issued, I think it was that $5 billion plan. Black folks weren't getting any of that money, any of those contracts. So we had to go in and push and fight for that. So in order to get change, you got to be willing to help make it, stand up for it, produce it, and give it to the people. If you're not courageous enough to carry it forward, give it to somebody else that can. And I believe Ozie Davis is that one. So with that, I'm gonna hang on up and and continue to listen to y'all and read the thread. I thank you for the conversation, too, today.
Yep. Appreciate you. That's Iris. She says Ozie has her vote. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Critical decisions. Al-Baghdadi is dead and the economy is alive. Is it? I'm reading some not so good things about, non-governmental hiring. Not looking good. Let me give you a little bit of tidbits of news and then we'll break out of here unless there are any residual phone calls. Update, the next presidential debate will be held at Tyler Perry Studios. Where else? The next presidential debate will be held at the house that Madea built. That's big. Must be a really nice studio. Did you know that? It's coming up on November the 20th. Get ready for that. What the hell? UNLV's black students outraged over university's response to school shooting threat. Members of UNLV's black student organization are calling on officials to do more to make students of color feel safe after a shooting threat found inside a bathroom 2 weeks ago. Damn. Apparently there was a note in the bathroom and it warned of a racially charged shooting that threatened for October the 16th. It did not happen. The university did not cancel classes or events, but they increased police activity. Does that sound like a movie? Higher Learning. You ever seen the movie Higher Learning? Remy? Going back to the 90s. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. That issue's happening real, man. It's happening right now. These are just tidbits. You can use this or not. Totally ignore it. Gospel artist Kurt Franklin says that he is boycotting Dove Awards because they cut him off when he wanted to lead them in a prayer. Not only did they edit my speech, they edited the African American experience. Uh-oh. The African American experience has been edited? Uh-oh. Oh, we got a problem here. How many people are still Kurt Franklin fans? Shame on you. Shame on you. So, any residual thoughts on Ozie Davis? I'm here to take your thoughts. As long as CPS can leverage black children for monetary gain, we are exactly where we are. We get exactly what we are getting. CPS strives off the black students' enrollment, disrupt the ratio, and cripple their money-making ability. But are we trying to undertake that? It's from Angela. I love that, Angela. I like that, Angela. And Nathan, voice porn? Voice porn? Voice porn? I don't know what the hell you mean. Ray writes, Ben Lindy is questionable to me. TFA, Teach for America, will look into it further. I mean, again, I don't have a problem with people. Somebody made a great point. That, what's the difference with Teach for America and substitute teachers right now? You got people that have been working with our kids as substitute teachers for years in some cases. And they may or may not have a degree or a background in education, but they're doing it. How is that any different for Teach for America? Would Teach for America be better? All I know with Ben Lindy is he's spending a lot of money to get on the school board. This is very important to him. Why? Is it his passion? I guess so. I guess it could be. Is this the first step in a future political career? It could be. I don't know. Something's there. I don't know. Speaking of Ben Lindy, I think Michelle Dillingham, Michelle Dillingham was going to give us a call tomorrow to give us some details about Mr. Lindy and perhaps others. And perhaps that conversation may include campaign contributions. Could be. That'll be tomorrow. And then, of course, you can't see it right now, but I'm doing multiple things at once and trying to secure interviews for the other judge races. And what I'm trying to do with those races and bring them on 2 by 2. We can bring them on at the same time. We'll do a conference call, boom, get them on at the same time, or one after the other. I prefer at this point at the same time, just to switch up the flow a little bit. That's what I'm working on. So check my feed, social media, and I'll drop a message when I confirm. Very interesting. I'm telling you, this school board, ooh, man. This is the preamble. 2020, Donald Trump, the re-election of Trump. Will the Russians win? Listen, I got to make a move. We've been talking for a long time, and it's time for me to get on with the rest of my day and allow you to do the same thing. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Go over to Sin Digital Media. Sorry, didn't mean to smack so loudly in your ear. But go over to Sin Digital Media on Facebook and check out our latest podcast, the Truth to Power podcast. Matter of fact, a brand new live stream on Thursday, the Truth to Power podcast. Look for it. And the Is It Just Me podcast. Got a couple new podcasts. One is called Cutting Through the BS that I can't wait for you to check out. Hope, and I know you'll like it. And another podcast called The Dope Chicks Collective, which is different. It's not like any other podcast that I've been involved with so far. It's less about the politics and more about black women. Yes, we'll talk. Listen, have a great day. I've got to make a move. I'll be back with you bright and early at 8 a.m. We'll chop it up. Viva la Chapas. Remember, winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. So stay focused and stay winning, and we'll talk real soon.